It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
The Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, November 2nd, 2015. Hello again, everyone. I'm Mario Helwani inside our New York City studio. Sad New York City. Their beloved, amazing Mets lost last night to the Kansas City Royals. They are the World Series champions. So everyone's a little sad, but not really. They're more excited about the New York Knicks. Hey, 2-1. How about that? Very excited about the New York Knicks. Big win over Washington on Saturday. Also, Saturday was Halloween. It was a rare, quiet Saturday night in the world of MMA. Some smaller shows here and there, KSW and whatnot, but it was pretty much an off week, and I think that's a good thing, especially when you consider the fact that there are 8 UFCs coming up in the next 7 weeks. UFC is back this Saturday in Brazil. Dan Henderson versus Vitor Belfort. We'll be talking about that event. We spoke about it last week as well. It's always good when there's a bit of a break. You can get a little more excited for the events. This is a pretty solid card. I'm really excited about the Patrick Cummins Glover Teixeira fight. Without a doubt, the people's main event, in my opinion. Huge fight for Cummins. Thomas Almeida returns. That's a big fight. Clay Guida kind of buried on the undercard. That's interesting as well. So a solid card in Brazil. They're doing less events there, and I think that's for the best. Bellator is back on Friday with a tentpole event. Really curious to see how Will Brooks does. He has talked a lot leading up to this card, so it's going to be interesting to see if he backs up that talk with a lot of eyes on him. So we have a lot to discuss. We got a great show once again. It's great to be back here with the crew, and I really like today's guest list. Let's get right into it. How about that? 3:05. We're going to be joined by fellow Canadian TJ Grant. We have not heard from TJ Grant on this show in over a year. Of course, he was supposed to fight for the belt twice, has not fought in 2.5 years, suffered a concussion as he was gearing up for a title fight, and pretty much fell off the face of the MMA world. TJ Grant, who just became a father again late last week, is going to join us at 3:05, and I'm really curious to see, where he's at right now. I want to hear from him. Is he going to fight again? What's going on? It seems like every time someone suffers a concussion, most recently Joseph Duffy, the name TJ Grant comes up. So I thought this would be a good time to hear from the Nova Scotia native. So that's at 3:05. 2:45, we'll talk to Miesha Tate. Some interesting comments from her late last week as well. At 2:25, we'll talk to Tim Kennedy, who's always an interesting guy to have on the show. He has a new show coming out next week on the History Channel. Spoke a little bit about it last time he was on around 2.5 months ago, but wanted to have him back on to talk about that and other things. 2:05, we'll talk to the aforementioned Joseph Duffy about pulling out of the Dustin Poirier fight. And mid last week, it was announced on UFC Tonight that they have been rebooked for UFC 195. So at least for now, all's well that ends well for those two. 1:45, we'll talk to Rose Namajunas, who was also announced, I believe, on Wednesday as well, has replaced Joanne Calderwood versus Paige Van Zandt on December 10th. Huge fight there in the strawweight division. We'll talk to her at 1:45. 1:25, the UFC heavyweight champion, Fabricio Werdum, Vai Cavallo, will stop by to talk about when he'll be returning to the UFC octagon. Before we get to our first guest of the day, 2 reminders. Hit us up, as always, using the hashtag the MMA Hour. Leave a question or comment in the comment section below. You know the drill. We'll get to those at around 3:25 after Inside the Vault. And I want to remind you that today's episode of the MMA Hour is brought to you by Assassin's Creed Syndicate. We appreciate their support immensely. Thank you very much to them. Great to have them on board. Let's go to our first guest of the day. Really looking forward to talking to this guest. I've been wanting to have him on the show for quite some time. Finally made it happen. I'm talking right now to UFC middleweight Josh Samman, who is not just a UFC fighter. He's a man of many hats. So we'll get to that and then some on this interview. First, let me say hello to Josh. Josh, how are you?
I'm well, Earl. Thanks for having me on.
A pleasure, my friend. Like I said, I've wanted to have you on for quite some time. And then when the whole Caio Magalhães hearing in Nevada happened late last week, I said, all right, this is the time to have Josh on. First things first, let's talk about that. So he gets a 6-month suspension, 40 hours community service. He spit on you after you beat him in July. Did they get it right, in your opinion?
I don't think that's for me to decide. I already said on was talking to one of the guys from Bloody Elbow, and I told them that I didn't want I don't really want him to be suspended. I'd really rather him keep fighting, keep winning as he was before I fought him. That's better for us. If they wanted to fine him and then maybe have some of the fine go to me or whatever, or maybe even John McCarthy, suppose like a weight cutting situation where they miss weight, some of the some of the fine goes to the opponent, then that would have been fine. But I don't really care either way. 6 months isn't too long.
So one of the interesting things that he said in the hearing was that he had lunch with you afterwards and you guys patched things up. But then you went on Twitter and said that didn't happen. Clear it up for us.
I don't know if I was only following along on Twitter. I wasn't watching the hearing. So I don't know if it was just lost in translation, if he was speaking to a translator and how that got confused. But no, we wouldn't. I'm not going to go to dinner with someone that that just spit on me. And he apologized. He sounded sincere. I was eating dinner at the time, and he came up and approached me while I was eating. That was about as far as that got in terms of us having dinner together.
Did you realize in the moment what he had just done to you?
No, I didn't. My coaches got real angry and yelling over the fence, and I've never seen him do anything like that. So I turned around, and John McCarthy was kind of had him up against the cage and was reprimanding him verbally. And so I realized once I saw the instant replay moments later.
Had you known what he did, would you have lost it on him? Are you that kind of guy?
No, I think my reaction would have been the same.
Okay. I feel like I would have lost it on him, to be honest. I mean, it's a pretty disgusting
the fight
thing.
was over, man. I mean, the fight was over. Everything that needed to be done had been done. I let my fighting do the talking in that scenario, and there wasn't any need for me to get upset about it. I think it won me $50,000. Actually, I think.
Yes.
I think the whole debacle of it added to the drama of the fight, and yeah, whatever, man. I'm not mad at him about it.
Okay, so we'll get to your next fight. As you mentioned, you won a bonus for that performance. You've actually won 2 in a row for your last 2 performances. Of course, in many people's eyes, a knockout of the year at UFC 181 against Eddie Gordon. What a great scene that was. But you also mentioned Bloody Elbow, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because you have been doing fantastic work over there, my friend. You've been writing great pieces, scoring big interviews like with Jeff Nowitzki. You got, in my opinion, the sort of defining interview thus far of this whole Nick Diaz saga, because you got the first Zuffa employee on the record to talk about this and admit that something wrong just happened here in Nevada. So let me ask you, how long have you been working at this writing game? Because it's very interesting to watch a current active, athlete. You don't see this in other sports, penning these articles, these opinion pieces, actually giving us insight via social media and Bloody Elbow into the life of an MMA fighter. It's fantastic.
I've been in Bloody Elbow for a while now, and I was just, I think how a lot of it starts is when they're there, you just start reading, and then you sign up and you start commenting, and then as I grew in my MMA competition and began to get a bigger and bigger platform, I had a lot of encouragement from other folks that said, the same thing that you did, that, there's the opportunity to provide some insight that other folks may not have or may not have access to, and so. It's become a passion of mine, and I think that it's important. It's a platform for me to not only shine a light on the things that I think are important in the sport, but to offer a lens through which to see it through for folks, and like you said, offering my opinion on things and just trying to go outside the box a little bit.
Has the UFC ever told you that they prefer you not do this?
No, not at all. I write for UFC.com as well, and if it's something that UFC.com I don't think would be interested in publishing, I publish it at Bloody Elbow, and vice versa, So no, I've had the support of UFC employees so far.
And how'd you score the Nowitzki interview?
Man, I don't remember what, we had that meeting when I fought Caio. That was the first weekend that everything that they began introducing all this information to the athletes. And so after the meeting, where I was, I was live tweeting at the meeting, providing information, trying to get all the facts out there for everybody. And so afterwards, I sat down with Nowitzki and told him that I wanted to be involved and be a part of his agenda and help clean up the sport, et cetera. And so we've kept in contact since then. And maybe once a month or something, he'll text me or email me and, say, I like what you wrote and here. And so he had done that one time. And, I asked him, just offhand, I was like, what do you think about the Diaz stuff going on? And he's like, Nevada shouldn't have, she said that it's not a question of how long he should have been suspended. He said he shouldn't have been suspended at all. And I was just like, oh man, well this is, as you said, if he would have told you that, you would have seen that it was just major news. So I was like, well, can we go on the record about it? Can I just ask you some questions? And he was more than happy to. And, yeah, I'd like to think that among other things, was, just trying to do my part for the things that I think are right,
Oh yeah, it was incredible to read. It was huge. I mean, it was a major news story, and you scored it. And I like the fact that you actually thought like a reporter there. I could see other fighters who just don't think that way say like, oh, okay, cool, it's good to know. You move on. You actually thought like I would in that situation. Can I go on the record? Have you always been that way?
The more reaction that I get from the fans and from the readers that encourages me to do stuff like this, the more I feel like that, the more I'm kind of looking for angles and perspectives that maybe may go overlooked. Like you said, there may be some fighters who see things or know about things that they just kind of say, oh, whatever, and they keep it to themselves and maybe tell their friends about it. But if I have a platform to, like I said, shine a light on the things that I think are important, or I think are compelling, or I think people may want to know, or things that could, change things, like in this situation with Nick Diaz, then, I'm doing a disservice to myself and to the fans by holding that information to myself. If I have this platform through which to get it to everyone, then why not,
And we've seen, athletes pen articles before, do things like that. I mean, Players Tribune, in my opinion, doesn't count because it's very clear that they're not doing the writing there. They have a ghostwriter, which is fine. You want to see well-constructed pieces. I suspect you don't have that, in your back pocket, and that's what makes it even more impressive, in my opinion, because the pieces are actually really good. I mean, your work is actually very good. It's not a sloppy article. Did you take classes? Did you always want to be a writer? Did you,
when I was younger, you have, and I'm not sure how it is up in New York, but down here in Florida, we have standardized testing, and then we also have what they call rights upon request and stuff, where they score you and they evaluate your writing skills. And I always did well on that, but I didn't take any classes. I dropped out of high school, I didn't, and started fighting and stuff. So, speaking on the quality of the work, I'm just as obsessive about that as I am my fighting, and anything that I do, I'm going to dedicate myself 100% to and make sure that before it goes out to the world, it's going to be as polished a product as I can possibly make it, And so, anything that I do, man, I'm going to try to make it to where the response is what you just told me is, wow, this is really great. And if I'm not looking at it and thinking to myself that it's at least good or satisfied, then then I don't expect others to give me any positive reinforcement on it. I want it to be good. I want it to be great.
So you have this fight coming up in December against Tamdan McCrory. It's a great fight, December 19th in your backyard in Orlando. Are you going to do anything different leading up, like pen articles about your preparation, fight week, anything that we wouldn't get from your typical athlete who doesn't do this sort of thing?
If it comes to me naturally, then I'll write about it. I'm not going to, I don't like to force anything, and I don't think that's how the best work is done. And so for the last fight, I did a 4 or 5 part series of Bloody Elbow chronicling the whole week of the fight leading up to the Caio fight, and it was published a week or so afterwards. So I imagine, anytime I have something out of the normal happen, or anytime something, anything compelling has happened, I'll pull my phone out and I'll take some notes on it. And if it's enough to write something up, then I'll put it all together and create something. But I'm sure something will be written. I don't know what I have planned though.
You're a must follow on Twitter as well. I feel like I'm just showering you with accolades here, but it's all very true and very honest. At Josh Samman, you can see right there on the screen. I remember when you had that introductory meeting in July about the whole USADA deal, your tweets were fascinating. So here we are 4 months later, and I know it's really just ramping up. It really started in October. How do you feel about it? Because it seems like some people were saying initially, where's the testing? We've yet to see one failed test. Not to say that we want to see that, but that's somewhat alarming. How do you feel about where things stand right now with USADA?
I think they're on the right track for sure. I've been tested twice, and they tested me twice within a week or two. They came and tested me. They knocked on my door at 7 a.m. and then took a blood and urine test, and then just a few days ago, again, they were at my gym. And so that's the kind of stuff that we need to see, is like boom, boom, follow-up test, stuff like that. I mean, they've been doing stuff like this for a long time, so I imagine they know what the behavior of the athletes is like, and how, I'm sure that there are a lot of folks who maybe they get that first test and then think that that's the time to begin doping or whatever it is that they do,
Yeah.
and then and probably boom, and I'm sure that second test, gets a lot of failures. And I don't think we've seen any of the results yet, because what they told me is it takes 6 to 8 weeks, and they really began all of the testing on the 1st of October is when they became really active in it, and so I think the news should start coming any day now in the next few weeks about some test failures. If you go online, last time I looked, there had been 146 tests over 86 athletes, 84 athletes or something. So of the whole roster, a small percentage of us, maybe 15, 20% of us have actually been tested. And hopefully as the fights go on and keep getting scheduled, we'll see more of that. But I think they're in the right direction, man. I like what they're doing.
In your opinion, how needed was this? Was there a huge problem in our sport?
I think it just depends on where you're at, what you're if you're at a gym where there's a lot of blood doping or juicing or whatnot going on, you probably think it's very prevalent. I've been in small gyms in Florida for most of my life, and so I didn't see a lot of it. But the more I am around other athletes and stuff, and just the way people talk about it seemed like a pretty regular thing. So I'm glad that I'm entering the UFC and really, starting to fight this elite competition at a time where I don't have to worry about whether or not they're on juice or they're on these performance enhancers, et cetera. And so, yeah, man, I'm happy about where things are going, and it is absolutely necessary. I mean, the one single drug test, a urine test on the night of a fight is so inadequate to know whether or not an athlete has been doping or not. So yeah, you have to have 365-day blood tests. Athletes have to make themselves available, and that's the only way that this thing can work.
Don't want you to out anyone here, but do you get the sense that a lot of the fighters, when this came out, were nervous? Like when you were at that introductory meeting in July, were there a lot of guys who were like, "What the hell is happening here"?
It really seemed like not. I mean, and that meeting was pretty small, and I did get that impression. I mean, not anybody I remember off the top of my head, but I mean, yeah, the man, the energy in the room was like, oh shit, like this is real, like. And so, yeah, man, I think you're going to see these guys' physiques are going to start changing. Their performances are going to change. And so, for me, myself, I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I never rely on the eye test. There's been, I've had people speculate my whole career that I've used performance enhancers and stuff. They say, look, you got the physique of it, blah, 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 and so I've never used that. So, I mean, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But I think, within the next few months, maybe a year or two, you'll see, it will become more apparent who was relying on these things for their career and who was not.
Did you use an IV?
I've used the IV one time, but I didn't even, I didn't notice much difference at all besides oral rehydration. So that was like a few years ago, one of these fights in Florida when I was still fighting in Tallahassee. So I haven't used one since then, and I'm not worried about. That's another thing I'm happy about, man. All these guys that have been relying on that for years, they don't have that anymore, man. So the gap is going to be widened between everyone who's been doing things naturally and those who haven't.
Now, you also run your own fight promotion, right?
That's right. It's called Combat Night, and it's down here in Florida. We've done 52 events in 3 years.
Wow. Is it just what role do you have in the promotion?
Oh, I own it. I promote it, and I own it with another professional fighter of mine. His name is Mitchell Chamali. You'll probably see him in the UFC soon. He fights at 125. He's 7-2, I believe, as a pro. So we have this MMA thing from the grassroots all around Florida. We're in the MMA scene, and we're growing the sport and giving these guys opportunities to be up and coming fighters. And so we do them everywhere. We do them in Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Orlando, and South Florida, so that we cater to every MMA fan in Florida and every fighter in Florida. If they want to come and fight for our promotion, they can. And we're super proud of it, man. It's what I dedicate a lot of my time towards. Any
fighters competed on your card and are now in the UFC?
Well, the Florida law dictates for mixed martial arts that it has to be all amateur or all pro. And so our shows have been all amateur shows thus far. So some of those fighters that are getting better and becoming pro, we're gonna have to move on to a pro show, which we'll probably do this year. So there's a guy, I think the guy that I would keep an eye on that fought for us. I think he took his debut with us and was our champion for about a year before he went pro. His name was Josh Blyden, and he fights at a Champion Training Center in Georgia under Musin Cobre, and I think he's fighting for legacy. I think he's 3-0, 4-0 right now, so he's probably the guy to watch.
For an upstart promotion, an upstart promoter, is the way to go, is it amateur? Because you don't have to pay the guys anything, right? So you're making a full
Well,
profit.
that's the whole thing. Is that is for most other states, Earl, you have what you can do pro-am cards, and so you can have up and coming guys, maybe 9 or 10 fights do amateur, and then the last 2 or 3 fights have the co-main event, main event pro. But because in Florida there was no amateur mixed martial arts for a long time, so when they finally legalized it, what they did is they gave there's multiple sanctioning bodies for the amateur mixed martial arts in Florida until the boxing commission gets that whole thing together. So when you're looking at an MMA show for an upstart or even not an upstart, you're faced with a choice of either amateur or pro, and if you have to pay all the fighters, you're looking at double or triple the budget, and
Right.
then and there's all sorts of different costs, and to the fan, a lot of these guys, a lot of the fans, some are hardcore, but to some of them, cage fighting is just cage fighting, and so whether it's amateur or pro, they're still going to come. So until Florida changes their laws and allows us to start putting some pros on the card, we're going to do mostly amateur cards, and then these guys that have the ability to go pro and have the skills to go pro, we want to cater to them too and provide for them too. So I think 2016 we'll start doing pro shows, maybe 3 or 4 a year.
So anyone who follows MMA, who watches a show like this, knows about your story by now. You fighting on December 6th of last year, the birthday of your girlfriend, and the tragedy that you had to overcome, and other tragedies as well, and injuries. I mean, it's been quite the road for you. And like a simple Google search, any sort of introductory article on Josh Samman, it feels like you have to relive that every single time you talk to a reporter for the first time. How difficult is that, and are you tired of doing that? Is that part of the healing process? How do you handle that?
I mean, we're about two years removed now, so on one hand, I've kind of become callous to a lot of these things, but on the other hand, it's like, yeah, that part of my life and that whole story is, that's absolutely, my greatest accomplishment was December 6th, was doing that, and just it provided me with a little bit of closure, but it'll always be a part of me. It'll always be a part of my story, and I don't want it to be an either or thing for the things that I do from now on. It doesn't have to be, do we talk about this or do we talk about that? It's just that I need to continue adding to the legacy and adding to the things that I'm doing and the things that I'm contributing, and I feel like I'm doing that the most when I'm creating. Whether through writing or creating experiences for fans through mixed martial arts or whatever it is, that's how I cope with that.
Was December 6th the greatest range of emotions you've ever experienced in the span of a couple hours? From the emotions leading up to the fight, you were probably nervous. It had been a while since you fought, and then the elation afterwards, but also mixed with the sadness. I mean, it just seemed like you were battling a lot in a span of just a few hours.
Yeah, there's no way you could. In my mind, I mean, I got goosebumps right now even thinking about it. There's no way that you could construct or script a more dramatic scene for me, and just living through that was just that whole experience of envisioning something and then realizing it and then having it happen and then realizing that it just happened, and it was just, I mean, it was unreal, and I could sit here and try to talk to you all day about all the complexity and all the different mixed emotions that I had, but it wouldn't do it any justice. It was, like you said, it was the most I mean, it was very, you could tell my actions probably kind of mirrored how I was feeling inside. It was crazy. It was a crazy night.
Is there a day that goes by that you don't think about that night, how you felt that night?
No, I think about it every day, especially when I start training again and I'm in the gym all day and I'm on, at the end of a long workout, at the end of a long set, or really, really tough days. I'll always think about, I'll draw inspiration from that night, from other things that, we've overcome and been through in the past and stuff. So, no, I try to keep those in the back of my mind. It strengthens me.
So you're back on December 19th. You're fighting Tamdan McCrory. What a story he has as well, because he was out of the game for a long time, returns to Bellator, looks fantastic, and then, exit through the side door. Now he is back in the UFC. Was he on your radar at all when he was doing all this stuff?
I watched his fight against Ward where he knocked him out, and I was like, who is this guy? And then I looked him up and I was like, holy crap, barn cat from
Yeah.
back in the day. Yeah, it's wild, and so he's got a cool story, and I really think he's being overlooked by a lot of folks in this fight. I by all means, I'm confident. I believe in myself and my ability to beat him, but my friends or people will look him up and look at his body and say, "Oh man, you're gonna kill this guy." I'm like, man, the physique is not indicative of talent or skill, and he's very, very talent rich, and I think that it's going to be a very tough fight, but I think it will bring out the best in me. I think you guys will be able to see me, get tested in a way that I haven't been in my last two fights, and still able to overcome and get the finish.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Always good to go to Florida. The last time they were in Orlando was a great card, and looking forward to watching you fight again. I feel like you need to fight a little more. I mean, you had one in December, then July. We need to get you in there a little more. Maybe you're too busy writing.
I have a lot of hats that I wear.
Yes.
I think 2 or 3 times a year is good with me.
All right, fair enough. Tremendous work, my friend. Really, you're doing outstanding stuff. It's great to follow you on Twitter, great to read your stuff, and great to watch you fight. Appreciate the time, and good luck in the training camp in the last few weeks leading up to December 19th.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right, there he is, Josh Samman, UFC middleweight, a name to remember. Great fight on December 19th against the Barn Cat, Tamdan McCrory. That's in Orlando on Fox. I am looking forward to going over there very much. Now, speaking of Orlando, and speaking of the last time the UFC was in Orlando, the main event that night, if you recall, April of 2014, was Travis Browne versus Fabricio Werdum. Werdum won that night and eventually, as you all know, became the UFC heavyweight champion. We have not heard from him in quite some time, so let's go to the Skype machine and welcome in Vai Cavallo himself, the UFC heavyweight champion, Fabricio Werdum. Fabricio, how are you, my friend?
Everything's great, man. Thank you for having me here, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate your time as well. So, like I said, we have not heard from you in a bit. And I first wanted to ask you about this. I remember at a press conference not that long ago, Dana White said, we're not going to see Werdum back until maybe February, March. And honestly, he seemed a little upset that it was taking you so long to get back in there. But then I spoke to your management team, Dominance MMA, and they said, we're ready to go December. So why are you out for so long? Explain it to us.
Yes, man. I'm very happy for sure. I'm be a champion, and I have a lot of travel in the world. I go to Chechnya, Brazil, Argentina, Europe, a lot of different places. The guys invite me for seminars, appearances, for everything, and for sure I'm happy, man. I like it. I like they bring the belt. I want to show the guys for defense. I bring the real belt because I have 2 belts in my home. I have 2 belts. And versus Cain Velasquez and Mark Hunt, but I have one more. I have 3 belts, but I have a replica.
Yes.
The
yes.
fake one. But the fake one is not good. You bring for the guys because it's not the real one. I have a good energy.
Yeah.
I bring my real belt. I put one in my home, in the frame. I put my one, and the other one I bring for the I wanna. My last seminar in Spain, I have 240 people in
wow.
seminar. And I give for the guys, take the belt for the guys feeling the energy. It's very important.
So did you ask the UFC for some time off? Did you tell them that you only wanted to return in March?
No. Just, the guys want to fight. I fight in September.
Yeah.
But in September, early. It's very important the champion enjoy this moment. I for a long time I tried to be a champion, long time, and I enjoy this moment. It's very important. It's okay. I fight in December or in February. It doesn't matter for me. But I start my training now, my camp. I'm here now in the front, the Kings MMA here now. I'm just waiting for the start the training, and but. Hey man, it's when the UFC say, Werdum, you want to fight September? I say September? No. I don't want to fight September. I want to enjoy this moment with my family, my team, with the fans. And if February or March is good for me. No problem. I fight anytime. No problem.
Yeah, and who can blame you? It's been such a long road for you to get the belt, so you want to celebrate and enjoy it. I can understand. Have they told you yet when you're going to fight now? Do you know the date?
No, I don't know the date yet. I know the opponent, and the rematch with Cain Velasquez, and yes, I mean you asking to the fans. The fans say it's not good the rematch.
Yes.
For sure the guys for sure the guys want to fight, see the fight again. For sure, the rematch. All the guys want to see it again. But the guys say it's not fair when the rematch because, you know, I beat Cain Velasquez, not like a very fast fight. Like maybe knock down the first minute. It's okay, rematch. Maybe I like a decision. Okay, rematch. Okay, but I beat him like he punched me. I punched him. He win the first round. I win the third one, the second one. Yeah, I finish him the third one. I think it's I show inside the cage, you know.
Yeah.
But for me it's okay. I never pick up each fighter. I all the time the UFC say, Werdum, you fight this guy. Okay, no problem. Werdum, you fight the other guy. Okay, no problem. I never say not. Yes, all the time I say yes, no problem.
So were you disappointed when they said we're going to do the rematch right away?
No, because, you know, I have this in my mind, you know. I visualize everything. And Rafael Cordeiro say, Werdum, you fought versus Cain Velasquez now, and you have a rematch with him. He said this 1 year or 2 years ago.
Wow.
He said that for me.
Wow.
For sure. My coach say, Rafael Cordeiro say, Werdum, for sure you fight with Cain Velasquez, you beat him, and you have a rematch with him. I think in Vegas, he say. You know, I don't know if it's in Vegas or in Brazil. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I have this in my mind. I visualize this. I don't disappoint. It's okay. I have a lot of respect with Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez is a very nice fighter. But he changed his, you know, when he beat him the first day, the same day, he did the interview. He said, no, Werdum is much better with me. He beat me. Okay. But now he changed.
Oh.
He changed. He say because the altitude, you know.
Yes.
But Aaron, it's you know, the altitude is not just for him. The altitude is for me and for him, for both.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
I don't know why the guys say because the altitude. I don't know why.
That bother you?
Yes. Why? Yeah. But why the guys say because the altitude? It's for me, for him. Just the altitude. Why the altitude is just for him?
Yep.
Werdum, you go before to Mexico. You go 40 days before. It's okay. This is my strategy. You know, I don't call Cain Velasquez. Hey, Ken, come before. Maybe it's much better for you.
Yeah.
I don't say that. You know, it's yes, man.
So you feel like he's making an excuse now. He's taking some credit away from you, right?
It's the same. Travis Brown. Travis Brown. The first day he said, "Werdum much better. He beat me. He kicked my ass." He said that. He kicked my ass. But now he changed too. After that he said, "No, I think Werdum, blah, 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 blah." It's okay, man. It's okay. I just show inside the cage. I don't talk too much before, you know, because I learned maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I talked too much. I lost. I don't like this style. My style is like a happy. When I fight, happy. When I'm ready for the fight, that's it, man. This is my style.
I've heard some rumors, some whispers, maybe March in Curitiba, you, Anderson, Shogun. What have you heard? What can you tell us?
Man, it's in Brazil. I like to fight in Brazil for sure because I fight 2 times in Mexico.
Yeah.
You know, I love Mexico for sure. I have a lot of fans there. But I think it's in Brazil is fair. It's good. It's good time for a fight in Brazil. Maybe in one stadium, the big stadium, you know.
Yeah.
I like 50,000 people, but it's not 100%. But I like for sure.
Do you think that they can fill up 50,000 people there?
For sure, 100%. I fight in Brazil versus Cain Velasquez, and then maybe Anderson Silva fight too, or Shogun. I don't know. It's for sure. It's a huge show.
Maybe the return of your friend Vanderlei Silva as well. I know he's been training there. Do you think he'll come back? Do you think if everything works out with Nevada, he'll come out of retirement?
Hey, man, the Vanderlei Silva is for sure my good friend, and it's like a brother. You know, he in my home yesterday. He in my home Saturday in the Halloween party.
Yes.
Yes, it's nice. And, hey, man, he's like a legend. You know, he enjoy a lot now. He enjoy with his family. He have a lot of travels to seminar, appearance. Vanderlei is very smart guy, man. He's like a legend. I say for defense, respect him because he's a huge fighter in his moment and his personality.
Yes, a very important part of the history of MMA, an important figure.
Yes, for sure, man. 100%.
Do you think he'll fight again?
I mean, I think so. I think so. Maybe he fight in Brazil, UFC. I don't know. But for sure, defense love to see Vanderlei again. For sure, 100%.
It would be good if you can get him to sit down with the UFC and be friends again. You know what I mean?
I think this is good. This is good deal for both. Good deal for UFC and Vanderlei too. For sure, maybe friends again. It's okay.
We're approaching the 1-year anniversary of that first fight in Mexico. You fought Mark Hunt at UFC 180. It was November of last year, and then you had to go right away and get ready for the fight against Cain Velasquez. After the Cain Velasquez fight, were you tired mentally? Like, did you need to go on vacation and just relax because it was back-to-back long training camps in Mexico for you?
Yes, after this fight, after Mark Hunt fight, I'm good. Okay. I'm training a lot. I'm stay there 2 months. The first time I stayed 2 months there. It's a long time. I don't see for my family for 2 months. My daughters. I don't see just camp, just like a focus there in the high altitude. But after this fight, the Cain Velasquez fight, I need this moment for the rest. You know, because I train a lot. My mind. I need this rest for my mind, for my body. Yeah, and now I'm good again. When I finish the fight, I need this moment for the enjoy, be a champion. It's big different. My life has changed a lot.
Yeah.
I'm rich now. I'm rich now.
What's the biggest difference? I know you're rich now. You're the heavyweight champion. You're the toughest man in the world.
But I just say this is in my seminars.
Sure.
When I teach seminars, I say I'm rich now. Just like a joke, and the guys smile a lot. Yeah, it's joking for sure, man.
But has it changed a lot? Has your life changed since beating Cain?
No, for sure, changed 100%.
Okay.
100% change. The guys have a lot more respect with me because all the time I'm an underdog. All the time I'm the underdog. I don't like now. I want the guys change his mind because all the time I'm the underdog. I show versus Travis Brown, Mark Hunt. Because when I fought Mark Hunt, the guy say, "Hey, Mark Hunt knocked down for sure Werdum, or Werdum finish him." But no guys is expect that I'm knocked down Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
No, nobody. But. Hey, I beat just to watch, just to look my record. I beat the first time Fedor Emelianenko, Travis Brown is Roy Nelson, Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez, everybody knows good cardio, very big heart, but I break him and I finish him. I don't know why the guys are waiting more.
So do you consider yourself the greatest heavyweight of all time? Considering that resume, are you the best ever?
Yeah, I don't like when I say this. It's like it's like a prepotent. You know how I say prepotent?
Yes.
Like maybe I'm the best in the world. Blah, blah. I know it's not my style, man. I like when the fans say that. When the fans say that, I'm very happy for sure. Getting more motivation for sure. But I don't like when I say that. I have one record. Nobody have this record. I'm a champion in the world, Jiu-Jitsu world champion.
Yeah.
ADCC world champion 2 times, Jiu-Jitsu 3 times, and the UFC heavyweight champion. But when I say that, the guys say, hey, Werdum is maybe a little prepotent.
Yes.
I don't like
cocky, right?
But it's true. Nobody have this.
Right.
I have this, man.
Oh,
I'm very happy.
So it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you feel like you're not getting the respect that you deserve. Is that fair?
Yes. I like when the guys have a respect. I know I have a lot of fans. I have it. I just come back to Europe now. I go there. Hey, man, I teach maybe 3 or 4 seminars. I have a total 800 people.
Wow.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like I know. When I see it, when I see like 200, 250 people in the seminar, because normally seminar I have 30, 40 people is good.
Wow.
30, 40 people seminar is good. But 200, 40 or 50 is a lot, man. It's a lot. Yes.
You've been traveling all over the place. I saw that you were in Chechnya recently.
Yes.
And now you're going to be doing some training over there. There it is. Akhmat fight team, right?
Akhmat.
Akhmat.
Amen. Akhmat, yes. Hey, man, I have a good relationship with the president,
Yeah.
Kadyrov is very nice president, man. He loved the MMA. He have a big show there, Ahmad show, and hey, man, it's crazy, man. I go there. The guys have a lot of respect with the fighters. One time 1 year ago, I go me and Frank Mir and Chris Weidman.
Yep, yep.
This time just me go there. I have I'm the ambassador now. I'm the ambassador, Chechen ambassador MMA. yes, it's good.
How did this
happen?
happen?
Have a big show there. He have a big show.
Yeah.
And the waiting, the president say Werdum is the ambassador now, the Chechen ambassador. I say I'm very happy for sure. I represent Ahmad.
Okay.
Fight Club.
But how did this happen? Like, you're not Chechnyan. You have no ties there. How did you become the ambassador?
Yeah, because he say, Werdum, you nice guy, you very nice guy. And just I say this because I wanna show for the world in Chechen I have a good fighters. This is true, man. It's crazy. The guys have a big heart because all the time I say, oh, you train your body, you're training your mind, but your heart, you know, training, or you have it, or you don't have it. Big heart.
Yeah.
And the Chechen guys have a big heart for sure. The Chechen guys come to UFC, the different events for a show, man. It's huge fighters there, man. It's crazy, man. It's very good.
So this president that you speak of, Kadyrov, he's a little controversial to say the least. Have you read about him? Do you know? Do you feel comfortable being in business with him?
Yes, for sure. Yes. I mean, he's all the guys there, the Patriot, the other guy, and I mean, the guys take care of me all the time there. Everything is good. I mean, it's nice country. I love the Chechen. It's very good because the guy, when I go there, the guys have a lot of respect. The fans, the guys in the show there, the guys say Werdum all the time. This is I like him, and he give me a lot of motivation when the guys, show when the guys like you. This is very good, man. This is for sure. It's my motivation for to start the train again.
Yeah. So for this upcoming fight against Cain, will you train there as well? The training camp?
What do you say?
Will you do part of the training camp for the Cain Velasquez rematch in Chechnya?
Yes, for sure. Yes. I mean, here in Kings, Rafael Cordeiro is my coach. But when I help the guys there, when the guys come to here too, because I have now like a, relationship Kings and Ahmad is like the same thing, It's like the guys send the president send the guys training here.
Okay.
Or sometimes I go there, I help the guys there. I train there too. I have a gym there. I'm staying inside the resident. The resident.
The palace.
The palace. Yes, the same thing. Imagine you come to USA and the Obama bring Obama
the White House.
To White House.
Yeah.
Same thing. I go to Chechnya. I just go to palace. I stay there. I have my room there.
Amazing. What about Fedor? Were you surprised or disappointed that he didn't sign with the UFC?
Yes, I like for sure 100%. He deserves for a fight in UFC for sure. But I think maybe in Japan, the guys love him. Fedor in Japan, the guys love him, and the big show coming up now in December. In Japan, I think is a huge show, and for sure I told before in one interview I like for sure UFC Fedor in UFC, and you rematch with me for sure 100%. Maybe one fight in UFC, the second one. Fight with me for sure, man. I have a lot of respect with Fedor because maybe the guys who forgot Fedor very fast. You know, Fedor stopped the fight because he need this rest too. I need the rest too, but maybe 1-2 months I'm good again. But Fedor have a lot of pressure with him when he lost with me in 2010. A lot of pressure. You lost, blah, blah. And he lost again. He's not good. He need the rest. Like he rests like 2 or 3 years. Yes.
Yeah.
I think he come back very strong now. I think he come back. I say for defense, I respect Fedor, but he's like a legend of the sport.
Do you still think that fight will happen against you again, or do you think now that he didn't sign with the UFC, it's never going to happen?
I think it's very hard.
Yeah.
The Japanese guy is very smart. Maybe sign with him 2 3 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think very hard he fight UFC. You know, a lot of fans want to watch his fight. You know, he fight UFC for sure. But I don't know what's happening now, man. I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you this before I let you go. The heavyweight division, it's very interesting right now. Other than Kane, who do you have your eye on? Who do you think you might have to fight in the next year?
I don't know, because it's not dependent for these guys, you know. Have a Dos Santos fight versus Overeem now.
Yep.
And I have Arlovsky versus who? Arlovsky versus
Stipe Miocic.
Miocic, yes. And depend the guys, man. Depending who win, and depending how you win, like a knockout or big show. I don't know. I think I have a lot of guys in the line for sure, but it's not my. I just want to think my training, and the 100% I fight each one, no problem.
How do you think you beat Kane in the rematch?
The rematch, for sure he comes very strong again, because the guy say he not prepare his body. He's very good, man. But I need more. I think I have a more confident this time, the last time.
Yeah.
I think he comes very, very good too, for sure, 100%. But I beat him again, man. I know I like a prepotent. You know, I just confident in my training. I confident in my team, MMA, Kings MMA. You know, I start. You see everything when I'm starting with Rafael. Just me, Rafael, two more guys. Today I have 400 people here.
Wow.
And crazy, I mean, a lot of guys come to visit here. You know, Kevin Gastelum training with us. I have a lot of guys training here, man. The guys come and visit too.
Yes.
You know.
Patrick Cummins, who's fighting this weekend, trains there, right?
Yes. And I think it's a good rematch for sure. For sure, it's a big show. But I don't go inside the cage like I'm lost this fight. No. I just put my mind. I visualize everything. Like when I go inside the cage, when I fight with him, and after then the interview with Joe Rogan, I visualize everything.
Wow.
I have everything in my mind. And now I think that I keep just asking to Ken Velasquez, be careful the right arm.
Okay.
It's my special.
Okay.
Don't come inside my guard, please, because, hey, be careful your right arm.
It is always a pleasure, my friend. So happy for you and your success. Happy to see you smiling, and very much looking forward to this rematch. It's going to be fun. You know, at first I think people were kind of, we don't want to see, but now that you're getting ready, it's an exciting time. So thank you very much for coming on the show before your training. A pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Hey, man, thank you. I appreciate for you. I just say thank you, please. I just say thank you for my team, Kings MMA, and my sponsor, you know, Ahmad, Redot, M2P. The guys help me a lot. This is very important. The sponsor help the fighters, because
Yes.
I'm just think my training in that scene, man. I appreciate for the fans. And just follow me, please, and my Instagram, @Werdum. @Werdum
Yes,
is
it's a
the
good
best
Instagram.
Instagram ever.
Yes, I see it. I follow you, and it's very entertaining. The Halloween stuff, I like it very much. Obrigado, my friend. Thank you very much.
Obrigado.
There it is, the face. Yes, I love it. Thank you, Fabricio. There he is, the UFC heavyweight champion. What a face. Love that out of him, and a guy who's always in a great mood, always with a smile on his face, always with a nice perspective. He returns. That's the talk these days. Perhaps Curitiba. We'll see if it all pans out. But hey, he did fight, as he said, Cain Velasquez in Mexico, so perhaps they have to return the favor now and have Cain fight him in Brazil. It is more interesting today than it has been in a very long time, that heavyweight division, with the two fights he mentioned. Also, Ben Rothwell is out there, the return of Josh Barnett, Frank Mir still looming. It's unfortunate that Fedor did not sign, but hey, who knows? Maybe he gets 2 wins over there and comes over. I'm not holding my breath, that's for sure. I think that ship may have finally sailed, but crazier things have happened. All right. In a minute, we're going to be joined by Rose Namajunas. As I said, it was announced late last week that Paige Van Zandt is no longer fighting Joanne Calderwood. She injured her knee in training, and now she is fighting Rose Namajunas, which is a very important fight at strawweight, a fascinating fight. It's just really interesting to break down. It's really interesting to think about. This is not the fight that we were expecting for Paige next. That's for sure. I don't think a lot of people were expecting Calderwood, let alone Rose. So a nice turn of events, and it makes that week in Las Vegas that much more exciting because you have 3 events in a row, and it kicks off with this one on Fight Pass. Let's talk to Rose right now. She is joining us via the magic of Skype. There she is. Rose Namajunas, how are you, my friend?
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. So when were you told that you were going to be replacing Joanne Calderwood to fight Paige Van Zandt on December 10th?
Like the day before it was announced to everybody. So was that make it like a few days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps Tuesday or Monday of last week. What was your reaction?
What was my reaction? Like, this is great. This is a perfect opportunity for me. You know, I get to be back in a high profile fight, but it be an opponent that's, you know, that I can be definitely ready for. And, you know, I'm in the best shape of my life, or, you know, at least in getting to my prime, you know, in my career. And I think it's just like the right progression, whereas maybe earlier was a little too fast. So I think right now is just perfect.
So it was just a few weeks after your fight in Houston. Did you feel like you had enough time to decompress and go right back into a training camp?
Yeah, after my last vacation, after the Carla fight, and I just took a long time off, I kind of realized that was a time that I needed off to not need time off from, at least for a while here on out, you know. I think after this fight, I want to take, you know, some time off, obviously, to let my body heal, but mentally, I'm just so ready. You know, I'm more motivated than ever, and I'm really just enjoying this crazy ride.
I think the general consensus was when this was announced, like, wow, we were not expecting Paige. Who's over there? Is that Pat causing a ruckus? Is that what's happening over there?
Nope. He's not causing no ruckus. No. Well, I don't know. Maybe just by sitting there. I don't know.
Well, I know it's very hard to concentrate when HD is around. But let me ask you this. My reaction, I think a lot of people's as well, was like, I was not expecting them to put Paige in this kind of fight. After, you know, she's 3-0 and she's done everything to deserve all the hype, in my opinion. But there's not a lot of space, in my opinion, between you and the title fight. Were you surprised when they offered you Paige, when you were that opponent next for her?
No, I think it's actually like a really natural progression. I think maybe was it like one fight of a difference in terms of when they would match us up? Maybe, you know, because obviously nobody expected Joanne to call JoJo to pull out. But I think that we were going to be lined up either right after that fight or somewhere, maybe one more fight after that. So to me, it's like I view her as a high level opponent, even though, you know, there's a lot of maybe criticism around saying that she's kind of like brought up slowly and stuff like that. But I think it's a very natural progression, the way that we've kind of matched up right now.
Yeah, and I'm not criticizing it. I love it. Why not see, you know, how she fares? And you can no longer say that she's being brought along slowly. Have you been impressed with her thus far in the UFC?
Yeah, I think she's doing her thing. She's doing all these interviews. She's really exciting, and she's here and there, and she's been able to juggle it all and constantly, you know, get technically better, as well as really not losing any of her natural aggression.
What about the attention she receives, the hype that she receives? What do you make of that? Is it too much too soon?
I mean, obviously not. She's doing pretty good. So, you know, I think that she's being brought up at the rate that she needs to be brought up at. And obviously this is a jump up in competition for her coming up. So, you know, I think that, you know, that's the test that everybody's been waiting for. And I think she's been waiting for as well. So, you know, I'm more than welcome to bring it to her.
You know, it's interesting, and I don't know if you thought of this. You probably did, but this fight is taking place on December 10th, and that's 2 days shy, 1 year anniversary of the fight against Carla in the same city in Las Vegas. That was December 12th. Do you kind of feel like this is a perfect scenario for you? It's a year later, you've grown up, you can come back there and sort of exercise those demons. Did you think about that at all?
Yeah, actually, I do. I kind of feel like this is, you know, a time for a big milestone. I've definitely come a long way in terms of putting things in my past, and this is just one more thing that I can, you know, get past, and then obviously heal from, and come back, you know, and just keep moving on with the momentum. This is it's just I feel like I could write a book or something on how this is all kind of and just the different side that I have. I know everybody's kind of like watching from a fan's perspective, but for me, it's just been a blessing, just seeing how crazy things turn out and just how everything kind of just seems to fall in place at how they should be.
It's interesting because going into that fight against Carla, they were saying you're the next Ronda, and there was all this attention on you, and now it feels like she's getting a lot of that attention. You're kind of just sliding in there. Do you feel like the roles have reversed a little bit?
I don't know. I don't even know if our roles kind of are even interchangeable, just because we're way different human beings. We're two different individuals with a different past. So as much as I'd like to say, there's definitely a lot of patterns that you can see, growing up, just people making similar mistakes, obviously being overconfident like I was, and then kind of, learning that the hard way and then coming back and coming stronger. Like usually that's the natural progression of a younger, more immature individual, and then kind of coming back. And, I seem to be on the right path now, but, at the same time, we're two different people. So it's really hard to compare our circumstances.
When you say overconfident, did you think that you were a world beater? Like at that point, you were never going to lose again?
I don't even know so much as that, as so far to say, like, it's weird. It's like losing wasn't even a possibility necessarily. Like it wasn't like I'm never going to lose again. It was just like, what? I'm invincible, like there's no question. Like it wasn't even losing isn't even a reality in my life. So to me, it's like, even though it has happened before, it's like you forget that real quick, especially when you're on a roll. So for me, that's just like the main thing is just keeping myself humble, keeping myself happy and loving, and just loving the fight sport, the way I have all my life, and just using it as a way to express myself rather than try and be just cocky and trying to be overly dominant and trying to, instead of just being myself.
After the win over Angela in Houston, you said that you were pretty much all out of tears. You had cried so much leading up to that point, you were almost emotionally spent. Why were you crying leading up to the fight?
Just because of it's weird. It's like, the obvious nervous emotions that you have before the fight, the typical, the doubts that keep seeping in your head, even though you silenced them throughout the whole training camp. It just keeps coming back, and you're just like, I know it's just voices in my head. But then on top of that, just aside from the natural fears, but also a sense of overwhelming joy that, this is it. This is all, everything has come to this, and it's just a beautiful time in my life. And whatever is happening right now, I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, and I'm going to look back with gratitude.
After that win, could you finally, did you feel like a weight was lifted off your shoulders, like you could finally move on from the Ultimate Fighter experience? Because that was your first fight since then.
Yeah, actually, that's the common theme. It's just after a loss, after I lost to Tisha, I put all those things in the past, and I kind of just okay, I'm going to be a totally different fighter now. I'm not even going to think about any of that stuff before. And then even and then after coming out of the house, now I didn't realize I was kind of stuck back there. Once again, going into the Carla fight, so then I kind of had to it's weird, but and it's just one of those OCD things. But I threw away all my anything that say Ultimate Fighter. I still have some stuff, but just certain things that has an emotional attachment to, So
wow.
Yeah, just left it, and now I'm just kind of okay, now I'm on to the new thing. And then later, once I'm done with everything, I'm done with this fighting chapter, I can look back into all those things and reminisce. But right now, I just keep moving forward.
When you say threw it out, you actually chucked it in the garbage?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Well, yeah, to Goodwill, whatever like that. Yeah. Just put it in. This is weird. There's some stuff that I do throw in the garbage that people are really? But I really have a thing where I just get rid of any I used to compete a lot in just a whole bunch of tournaments growing up, piano wise, or just acting, or just random things art, arts and stuff like that, and competitions, taekwondo and stuff like that. And I would always get medals my whole life, or just winning this tournament or this trophy or whatever. I would just I don't know. I didn't really care about the actual trophy. I just wanted to compete, Mm-hmm. So and that was actually a problem, way back when I didn't really care for the belt necessarily. When I'm back in Invicta, I just wanted to see if I could get there. and then wanted to see if I can do it. And then this belt is like, whatever. I know what, but I understand the kind of emotional value now that it means so much more to me now than it did back then. So I don't know.
All part of that maturation process.
I don't know what the question was.
No,
Yeah.
very, very interesting. I love your celebrations, by the way. It almost seems like you lose complete control over your body, like you don't really know what to do with yourself. Is that an accurate way of describing it?
Yeah, and it's actually kind of funny now that I've seen the way that it has evolved. Like the past fight, like I kind of was like, woo, like celebration or like sense of relief, and then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I'm just kind of like, that was kind of anticlimactic, like I kind of knew that was gonna happen, and I just like threw my mouth cracked. So I was like, well, I knew I could do that. Like I don't know, I just had like this overwhelm, like a little bit of a sense of attitude that came over me. Like it's like, what, that was supposed to happen. Why was I having those doubts about myself? And then just kind of pissed at myself, pissed at the crowd for cheering, like, y'all cheer for this? Like, y'all didn't know this was going to happen? But at the same time, it's like, okay, and I just kept walking, I cooled down, like, okay, calm down, It's, you did a good job. And then, so my celebrations have changed, and it depends on each fight, Like, after certain fights where I'm just like, But then there's a lot of fights where when it ends in a spectacular fashion, like the Flying Armbar, there was so much.
Yes.
So much like craziness going on before then that it was just an explosion of just whoo, So it just depends on the fight.
I'm pretty sure that was the first time I got to watch you in person, and the best part was I'm able to watch Pat as well in your corner because sometimes they'll show him on screen, but I can't choose when to watch him. Can you hear him during the fight? It's incredibly entertaining watching you in person because of that dynamic. Can you hear what he's saying to you?
No,
Okay.
no. I really actually. When I go back into that memory, it's kind of like a just foggy dream. So it's really hard to even remember anybody saying anything really.
How has this been able to coexist and be a good partnership? Because we've seen more often than not, couples get into it together, and it's tough. It's tough to work together, right? I mean, whether you're working in a company, an office, or training, this is a very emotional thing. How are you able to balance all of that?
It's really hard, but I think we've gotten to a point where we're like done. We're past all the dumb just stuff,
Yes. There we go.
Past all the dumb stuff, like the stages where we had to get through, like, do I trust you? I don't know. You trust me? Like, you kind of did this to me. I did that to you, and I don't want to hear your voice right now. Like, we've gone through all that, and then we kind of for some reason, we just can't stay away from each other. So it all just kind of goes away in the end, and we're better than ever.
That's great.
Ever since we first met each other, I'm more crazy about him now, and I'm sure he's more crazy about me. I don't know.
What changed? This is great. I love this. What changed?
Just he's different. I'm different. I like me a lot better than I liked myself way back then. And if I would have met him right now the way he was when I first met him, I don't think I'd be attracted to that type of guy.
Wow.
So he's changed a lot. I've changed a lot, and we both kind of changed on the same path, and it just worked out,
You remember I told you I got something to tell you?
Yes.
Later, not yet.
Oh, come on,
Later.
Pat. I've been waiting 2 years.
Man, too much suspense. We gotta keep these shows coming along so you can.
I like it. I like the way it has evolved from him being on the show and you were kind of in the background, and now you're the featured guest and he's in the background. It's
yeah, that's
it's a nice.
Oh, here go my jiu-jitsu coach.
Oh, wow. I didn't know we had multiple guests in the background. Has he evolved into 100% being your coach? Is Pat done fighting?
Oh, there go Miesha.
Oh, wow.
She was so uncomfortable just now. But anyway, is he? Well, he's teaching now. He's teaching at 303 BJJ Training Center, and he's doing kickboxing classes there now, which is awesome. Once a week, Monday nights or whatever. But yeah, wait, what's that? Yeah, well, we don't. I think the fighting thing is kind of open right now.
Okay.
I think it's just not a thought. I don't want to. I don't want to see that chapter closed just yet, and I don't think he wants to either. At the same time, it's not we're not making it a priority by any means.
Rose is the star of the show right now, man.
That's right.
It's mostly keeping Pat's body together is the goal.
Sure.
Of the and getting him up in the morning.
Yes, and
he hurts. He's had a long career, so and broken hands, broken noses, it's tough, you know, and he's definitely feeling his body hurting nowadays. And just maybe he wasn't like, you know, his fighting career, he wasn't as smart as we're doing it nowadays, where we're actually like taking care of our body and like stretching and doing like discipline stuff. So
You're doing it soft.
Yeah.
You're being soft.
Yeah, so we're actually doing it like the smart way, scientific way and stuff. So now I think if he can, you know, take care of his body, I think we'll see another at least 1 or 2 or maybe 10 more fights. No, I don't know.
And what a body it is. I've seen him in his tighty whities right in front of me, and it's quite the piece of work, I must say. Okay, two last things before I let you go, and I appreciate the time greatly. I'm sure you'll be asked this question many times leading up to the fight. Do you think a win over Paige gets you a title shot?
Yeah, I think so, especially the way that I think that I'm going to win, and I believe in my heart. I think that people are going to be dying to see that fight.
And does this make the fight in a couple of weeks in Melbourne, does it make you more interested in the fight now that you have a day, like maybe you weren't assuming that you were going to be booked for a fight with this huge show coming up in Melbourne? Do you watch the fight now between Joanna and Valerie a little differently?
No, I just want to keep it from a fan's perspective at this point. Like when I go out to watch it in California, making my appearance and stuff, I'm just there for like a job, and I'm still focused at the task at hand, which is Paige. Whereas after the fight with Paige, I mean, I'll be watching the Joanna fight, but I think I'm gonna just enjoy it from just like fight fan perspective. But I'm not gonna be thinking like game plan against this person, like no, because I got enough on my plate as it is. So once I'm done with this fight, then I'll revisit that, and then I'll watch it again, and we'll come up with a different game plan.
And you're picking Joanna, right?
Yeah, but I kind of feel like I don't really have enough information on the other girl, but I still, like, from the little bits that I've seen, I would still go with Joanna.
All right.
Or Joanna.
Joanna. I think it is Joanna, but you could call her whatever you want. Joanna Champion, as she likes to call herself. A pleasure to have you on the show, as always, Rose. Thank you very much. Can't wait for this fight. It's a fantastic matchup. Kudos to Sean Shelby and the team, and good luck in training. You don't have a heck of a lot of time, but maybe that's for the best. Maybe it's good to get right back in there and keep the train moving along. So thank you very much for the time. Thank you to Pat and the rest of the team, and we'll see you in Las Vegas.
Thank you.
All right, there she is. Rose Namajunas, one of the top contenders in the UFC's strawweight division. Huge fight for her coming up in a little over a month, December 10th in Viva Las Vegas, Nevada. Just get a little water here or a little juice. A lot of big shows. Like I said, 8 events in the next 7 weeks, starting with this weekend in Sao Paulo. Then there's a week off for Christmas, and then they're back. And then they're back on January 2nd, and the UFC just announced that, well, not just, but a couple days ago, they announced that highly anticipated Dustin Poirier versus Joseph Duffy fight has been rescheduled for January 2nd. And when I saw that, it wasn't so much about the date, the location, the event. To me, it was just great news to see that Joe was able to come back. You know, you never know, as we'll talk about with TJ Grant later on in the show. Concussions, while labeled mild, can be a very serious thing. So it's great to see that he is rebooked, that he's healthy, that he's ready to go, and that he will be fighting Dustin Poirier on January 2nd. Wanted to talk to Joe Duffy about that fight, the injury, and all that stuff. He is kind enough to join us right now via the magic of Skype. There he is, Irish Joe himself. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, thanks, Ariel. Yourself?
I'm good. Thank you very much. So here you are just a couple weeks later. Of course, the fight never happened. I know that you've done a couple interviews, but just wanted to ask, I mean, how do you feel right now? Because like I said, for some athletes, a concussion can linger for a very long time. Do you feel like you're 100% healthy as we speak here tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I felt healthy fight week. After it happened, we done a trial on the pads on the Monday, and I felt good. And I got on the plane with the intentions of fighting. So, as far as I was concerned, when I was on the way over, I was going there to fight. So, I felt good, but unfortunately, obviously the doctors didn't see me fit to compete on the weekend.
Can you tell us exactly what happened? What were the circumstances surrounding the injury?
It was just normal last spar before the fight on the Saturday before the fight. normal rounds, same thing we do week in, week out. Just one of them shots that I didn't see, put me down, and for a split second I was down and I was up, and that was it. We knocked sparring on the head then, and I know Faraz and Eric spoke to one of the doctors who trains in the gym. He got a bit of advice, and we just kind of followed the protocol from there, really.
Did you know right then and there that something was off?
Yeah. I knew as soon as it happened. I knew what happened. I can still remember the combo that hit me.
Wow.
That was it. It was a flash knockdown. But obviously, at the minute, there's a big thing with concussions, and people are taking it pretty serious. So, at this day and age, I think that's what it is. I think that they see that brain trauma is a major issue, and they're trying to eradicate any further damage.
Two things really impressed me about this story. A, the fact that you guys told the UFC. I can see a lot of people in the past just saying, "Oh, I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to get to the fight. It's too big of a fight for me." Why did you tell the UFC?
First and foremost, it was Faraz's idea. He thought it's a good idea to put the UFC in the loop. Obviously, so they got time to come up with backup plans, and also we didn't want to turn up there, do my pad work session on the Monday. I don't know, say that didn't go too well, it didn't feel too good, and then have to pull out even short notice.
Okay.
So we wanted to make sure everyone was in the loop, everyone knew exactly what was going on, and like we said, we thought that maybe it wouldn't be as big an issue as it was really. Obviously that happened, and like I said, the Monday training went well, and I jumped on the plane with the intentions of fighting, but UFC, all credit to them. They put my safety first, even after the co-main got pulled. So it just goes to show how well they look after their fighters.
Once you told the UFC, what did they have you do to find out if you were healthy or not?
So, as soon as I got off the plane, I had a few bits and pieces to do, and then immediately I was taken for an MRI. Later on that day, then I went back to another hospital. We'd done a CAT scan, and then the following day, which was the Wednesday, we'd done like a concussion test, which was a few different bits and pieces that the doctors put you through, like little, basically testing reflexes, different ways of gauging how bad you're concussed and so on.
And these were independent doctors. These weren't UFC doctors that were treating you?
No, this was all independent doctors that was set up by the UFC.
And did you fail that concussion test? Is that why you were ultimately not cleared?
I'm assuming so. I'm assuming it was the last test that it was. I know the last doctor, he said you have got a mild concussion. So as soon as I heard them words, I had a bad feeling.
Yeah.
Assuming it was the last test that was the one that put the nail in the coffin.
This might be a question for a doctor, but I'm wondering if they gave you an explanation. Why was it labeled a mild concussion and not a severe concussion? Did they tell you anything about the kind of trauma that you suffered to make it labeled a mild concussion?
I'm not too sure on that one. I didn't ask the question, tell you the truth.
Okay.
It was just, as soon as I heard the words and as soon as I got the news, that was all that my mind was kind of taking over. So, the mild concussion bit kind of went out the window.
Have you ever suffered any kind of concussion before that you know of?
No. It's only once I've ever experienced anything close to this, which was when I was boxing.
Yeah.
Fighting out in Germany, and I got dropped in the first round. But I went on to win that fight, and I didn't have no issues or nothing after. So again, it's not something I've really had too much experience with.
Who informed you that you were ultimately out of the fight?
I got a text asking to come down to the office, and a lot of the guys who've been looking after me, throughout the week, who've been taking me here, there, and everywhere. They put me on the phone to Joe Sullivan. Joe Sullivan gave me the news. Then,
What was your reaction?
Obviously, I was numb. Would be the main word I would say. It was just heartbroken. I've been away from here for about 12 weeks, working my ass off trying to get in shape, and I wanted to go to Ireland and put on a show for the fans. And, to me, it feels like it was my coming out parade. I was gonna put myself in them rankings, and I felt it was going to be a great fight. It was an exciting fight, obviously, fighting Dustin. So I was looking forward to the whole experience. But obviously when I got the news, it was just heartbreaking.
Once the news came out, like we don't think about it from your perspective, reporters, fans, fellow fighters. But once the news comes out, the local guy, everyone's there to see you fight. You're in the main event, and just days before you can't fight. What are those next few hours like for you? What's going on with your phone? What are people saying to you? How do you handle all of that? Because I can't imagine if something bad happens to me, regular person, I don't have the whole world coming at me. You have to deal with not just the news, but everyone's reaction to the news. What's that like?
I suppose, by that point, I already, I was back with my family. I was sitting down, I was chatting, and because I hadn't told my parents at this point. I hadn't told them about the weekend, so they had an idea something was going on, but I didn't want to start panicking. My mother, she's Irish mother, that she knew something was going on. She had her holy candle burning. That's my mother right there for you, but. It was just going back and explaining to them what was going on, and I got quite a close knit family, so I just sat down and chilled with them, and obviously, with my girlfriend, we sat down, we discussed, and just try and get your head around it all, I suppose.
You stuck around. You went to the event. You were there. I saw pictures of you with everyone from fans to Dustin. Did you think about not sticking around? I mean, I commend you for doing that, but I can imagine it being very tough to be sitting in that arena watching the fights.
It was really tough, especially seeing the crowd, hearing the crowd,
Yeah,
and just thinking, I should be in there. I shouldn't be sat here. I should be in the thick of this, experiencing that. So it was very tough, but I had a teammate. Tom Breeze and Stevie Ray were fighting. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there to support them lads. So Tom, I was trying to help him with his reload and just try and turn it into a positive and try and make sure he had everything that he needed. And obviously, if I missed their fights, both of them got big wins, I would have been devastated. That was my main incentive for staying there.
I know Dana White was in attendance. Did you talk to him when he got there about the whole situation? And if so, what did he say?
Yeah, I was chatting to Dana. Dana was sat in front of me, but Dana was very supportive. He was just like, look, this is your health. You can't mess around with this. He'll get that fight again, and obviously, we managed to get that fight rescheduled. So, thankfully, thanks to Dustin, thanks to UFC for getting the fight back on.
What did you say to Dustin when you saw him?
Me and Dustin were chatting. I just went up and, obviously it was last minute news to him. So I suppose at the time I kind of felt responsible for the whole thing, So I just said, look, I'm sorry that we can't get it on, basically, and I just explained to him what happened, and I said, look, hopefully we can get this fight on again in the future, and he was cool about it. He knows that's the sport we're in. At the end of the day, combat sports, there's always going to be these incidents. So he was cool about it. So.
He received a lot of criticism for not taking a fight on very short notice after the news came out against Norman Park. Do you think any of that was fair?
No, I was chatting to Dustin about it, actually. It didn't make much sense to Dustin at the time. Dustin trained for me. He's obviously I'm Orthodox, Norman's Southpaw. It's two totally different fights. No disrespect to Norman, because I know him well and he's a great fighter. But leading up to the Madadi fight, he dropped 2 fights on the bounce. So to Dustin, from a business point of view, it probably didn't it didn't make as much sense. So I can see his thoughts behind it, and obviously we managed to get the fight on again now, so it makes perfect sense.
So before announcing the new fight, January 2nd in Las Vegas, UFC 195 last week, did you have to get cleared again to make sure that you no longer have any kind of concussion or any kind of symptoms at all?
No, no contact for me until 14th of November.
Okay.
So as of the 14th of November, I can spar as normal, or any of that type of thing. So at the minute, I can still train, I can still grapple, still wrestle, everything else, but just no contact until then.
And you don't have to go to a doctor to get cleared, have them sign off. It's just once that date comes, you're good to go?
Yeah, that's it. Once that date's here, I'm ready to go full steam again.
Do you think now the ship has sailed on you fighting in Ireland? Like if you beat him UFC 195, and by the time they come back and you're going to have bigger fights after that, do you think you may have gone at least until there's that big show, Croke Park, whatever, that for now you may have outgrown the O2, or I think it's called the 3 Arena now or something? They change it seems, every few months.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was frightened of at the time, I suppose, that I wouldn't get the opportunity to fight in front of the home crowd again until, like I said, maybe the Croke Park show comes about or something. But who knows? It's one of them. I can sit there and I can wind myself up about it, but who knows what lies ahead? So I'm just going to stick my head, get focusing again on January 2nd, and that's all I can do for now.
Will you be training at TriStar for the January 2nd fight?
Yeah, that's it. TriStar. I'll be out in TriStar full time now.
Okay.
I leave again on Wednesday.
Oh wow.
I'll be back out, and that's it. I'm pretty much going to be there full time. I got a condo there now as well, so that's it. All my training's going to be done in TriStar.
So you're going to be a Montreal resident.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Pretty much. I need to learn the lingo now.
I'm jealous of you, my friend. You can go see my parents anytime. What a treat.
I'll pop in, Ariel. Drop me the address. I'll pop in.
And will you now rethink the way you spar in the days leading up, like the week before? Will you not do that anymore, or you're going to not change a thing?
No, I've always looked at it the same way. From what I heard when I was going around all the different hospitals and so on, they said even if this happened a few weeks ago, 30 days of the event, I still wouldn't have been able to compete. So it's one of them. There's no way you can not spar 4 weeks before a fight.
Right.
It's craziness. It's the sport we're in. And I always, in the past, I come across this. I felt like I would take it easy, say a week before the fight or whatever, and I would end up getting injured because of that, and then I would go into the fight with little knocks. And so the week before the fight, it'll be the same as always. There's things in place at TriStar. We all spar in head guards. There's certain things that's in place to keep it from happening, but these accidents do happen. So it's just going to be a normal story. I'm not going to think too much about this. I'm just going to say that everything happens for a reason, I suppose.
Any idea if this fight is going to be on pay-per-view or FS1? Do you have any clue?
I have no idea. No idea.
And you don't care?
I tell you the truth, when it comes to all that, I haven't got a clue how most of it works. People message me asking what channel it's going to be on, and they would have a far better idea than I would.
Wow, that's amazing. And is Dustin the fight that you wanted though? Like, did they talk about maybe moving on and doing something else? Was that the only fight for you?
No, I think it was a fight we both wanted.
Yeah.
I feel it's an exciting fight, just in general. So it's a fight that suits us both. It's a fight that the fans talked about, and I think it would be good to get closure on that fight.
Last thing, I know I talked to you about being there, but the way the event ended, much different than the last show in Dublin with the Irish fighters all winning and all that stuff. Here it ends on Paddy losing. What was the vibe in the arena from your perspective, and also what were you thinking? Like, you were the one that was supposed to end the night on a good note, and it didn't end on a good note. What was that like for you?
I suppose I was you just see the Irish fans start cheering. I know as soon as Paddy comes on win, lose or draw, the fans go behind him, and I think that's pretty much a good way of summing up the Irish fans. And it was great to see the atmosphere and the reaction that the fans give to the fighters was incredible. So it was gutting. It was gutting that I wasn't the one ending the night on a high, but like I said, everything happens for a reason, and touch wood, I'll give them plenty more nights to cheer in the future.
I feel like I should get a medal here. I should get some kind of award. I just conducted a Joe Duffy interview and didn't mention the name Conor McGregor once. How about that? That is impressive, right? Until now.
That's got to be the first interview yet.
Well done. I'm proud of myself. Most importantly, very happy to see that you are okay. The fight is rescheduled. All is well in your world. Can't wait for the fight. I'm sorry it happened this way, but the good news is we're going to see it hopefully in exactly 2 months' time from exactly this particular date. A pleasure as always. You're a class act, my friend. Thank you so much for the time. Get well. I hope November 14th comes and goes without incident, and all goes well in this training camp leading up to the 2nd of January. Thank you so much, Joe. Really appreciate the time.
Perfect. Thanks, Ariel. Thanks for having me on.
There he is, Irish Joe Duffy. Pleasure as always. What a class act, really. A great guy, and always represents himself and his country and his team very well. And like I said at the top, very happy that all is well, and this isn't something that's going to sideline him for a considerable amount of time. Those concussions, very, very scary, but thankfully for Joe, it's not something that's going to change his career considerably. Got to be tough to be sitting there. I saw him there. You can see him throughout the entire event. If you were watching it on Fight Pass, he was front and center, right in back of Dana White. Man, I kept thinking throughout, what is going through his mind? That's got to be tough. But kudos to him for actually going there and watching it and showing his face. And I know the Irish fans, I feel like I have a pretty good sense how they react, how they support their fellow fighters and all that stuff, their fellow countrymen. I have a feeling that they were very understanding and very very comforting, and they have a funny way of making you feel loved. So I have a feeling that he wasn't feeling hated in that arena. Great stuff there from Joe Duffy. Looking forward to that card. Is a solid one. Robbie Lawler, Carlos Condit, Miocic against Arlovsky, Joe Duffy, Dustin Poirier. Some other fights were announced recently. Good stuff. January 2nd in Las Vegas. Okay, let us move along. Let's go back to the Skype machine. I think that's 4 in a row or so. This is very exciting. Good to see our guests, not in person, but on camera. Now let's talk to Tim Kennedy. Always an interesting guy to speak to. There he is. Tim Kennedy himself via the magic of Skype. Tim, how are you, my friend?
I am so well.
So, lots to discuss as always. Last time you were on this show around 2.5 months ago. By the way, I mean, look at this partnership here. We went from hating each other, at least you hated me. Now you're like a regular. I can't get rid of you on this show. Isn't it beautiful?
I know. I don't think people really grasp like how caustic the relationship between you and I were. I might have threatened you a few times, like maybe passively, like, I might kill you later or something like that. I don't remember the exact words, but I think it was that ballpark of that. And now, honestly, like I follow you on Twitter. I follow you everywhere that you go. You're definitely the guy I respect the most in MMA. You and Ben Folks.
Wow. Please don't say Ben's name on this show ever again, if you can. But it is great. And for the record, it was a one-way street. You hated me. I never disliked you. I always had love.
Oh, thank you. Now I feel super bad.
So last time you were on, we touched on this a little bit, but I did promise that we'd have you on before the premiere. You have this show coming out on November 10th on the History Channel called Hunting Hitler, and this fascinates me. This subject is obviously one that's near and dear to my heart. I actually had a chance to go to Auschwitz and many of the concentration camps in Poland. I am a proud Jew, learned all about the Holocaust in high school and whatnot. So the topic of World War II and Hitler and all this stuff is fascinating to me. But now it's finally coming out, November 10th. I would just like to know, how does, by the way, what's that book right over there in back? Does it say O Jerusalem? No, that says O Jeru. What does it say right there?
Oh, we got O Jerusalem.
Oh, it is O Jerusalem. Look at you. Are you a closet Jew? Israel.
That's true. Israel.
Wow. Who knew?
Gray Wolf.
Look at you. Is this a topic that always, were you always interested in this?
No, so I went to Israel, when I was in the military and went to a military school there. And as you know, it's a very closed society. And they're not really very receiving to non-Israelis and non-Jews. So being an American, I think they kind of view us as a whole, like not as the most supportive in the past few years. So I really wanted to do my due diligence and not be ignorant about the history of some of the conflicts, to include, obviously Palestine and the PLO and some of the people that they've been in such a tough position with for the past few years. So I did as much research as I could before I went over there, and I still was able to put my foot in my mouth and look like a complete idiot. But I tried to do the best I could to minimize that.
How long ago was this?
A couple of years.
Okay. So Hunting Hitler, how did you get chosen to do this?
Oh man. So the History Channel was looking for a lead investigator, a field guy. So the show is going to have the kind of the talking heads, the researchers that are in the office, that are looking at all the data that me and my team accumulate in all of the different locations that we visit. And then that they are kind of directing where the investigation goes. I am the field guy. So everywhere that this investigation leads, I put together a team, and we go, from Argentina to Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil, Colombia, Canary Islands, Spain, obviously Germany, a whole bunch. And they needed a guy with a kind of a certain skill set. I knew just enough in all of the wrong areas that made me the perfect candidate.
What do you mean by that?
It's kind of tragic when your skill set is, to hunt humans, but
I got you.
That's what I'm. Yeah, it's a sad thing to say, but the majority of my adult life, everybody knows me as an MMA fighter, but the vast majority of the time that I have been an adult, I have been in an occupation where I'm looking for bad people. There's a lot of technology that goes into that, software, being able to do demographic and society searches using all the different social medias. And then there's hardware like ground penetrating radar and drones, all of which I'm very intimately familiar with. I've been to all the schools. I can fly drones. I can use ground penetrating radar. I have the contacts for everybody in the world that has the best equipment. So, if we reached a problem and we're like, okay, we can't get access to this property, I can say, well, I can fly a drone over it, or, hey, we think there's something underneath this. I'm like, well, go, send me a ground penetrating radar and I'll tell you what's there. So I ended up being the right guy with the right skill set to do this. The other tragic part is, in the military, I was part of the task force that found the number 2 guy on the terrorist hit list, which was Zarqawi. I was part of that task force. Being in special forces, every cave we went into and every dude that we found, we say, hey, do you have any Americans? Are you planning any attacks on Americans? Do you have any civilians in captivity? Do you know where bin Laden is? Those are the questions that we asked everybody. So for 10 years, in Afghanistan and Pakistan and Iraq, everybody I talked to, those questions came out. So I'm kind of good at this.
Wow. And did you have to audition, or were you the guy?
I think they thought I was the guy before they talked to me.
Okay.
There's a lot out there for people to find out about me and what I've done. And So, but they still made me go through the different phases of interviewing, you know, talking to the production company, talking to the History Channel. But they, you know, having now looking back and talking to the people at the History Channel, you know, they knew ahead of time, you know, you were the guy that we wanted. It was just being able to make sure that it worked. And it worked.
And why, and maybe this is not a question that you can properly answer, but why is the History Channel hunting for Hitler in, quote unquote, in 2015?
Yeah. So just last year, they released almost 1,000 declassified documents from the FBI, from the CIA, from the OSS. And, you know, there's a lot of weird information in all of these documents, but one thing was clear. The FBI and the CIA, after 1945, were actively looking for Hitler. There's, you know, whether they found legitimate information, if they found credible information, doesn't matter. We know that they were spending a crap ton of money, especially in South America, looking for Hitler. And now you have to say why.
Yeah.
You know, if the narrative has been that Hitler died in 1945, the Germans, he executed himself or, you know, committed suicide with his wife, and then the Germans burnt his body, and the Russians took the body back to Russia. That's what I've been told my entire life. That's what I believed. Then this doesn't make sense. Why would we spend, you know, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars looking for this guy if he died in 1945? Then you start looking at the forensic evidence of what occurred in 1945, and there's nothing that says that he actually died. There's no body. The body that they have is a woman. They just did genetic testing on it last year. And, like, you know, now this is where we get the conspiracy theorists. We're like, okay, well, what happened? I don't care. What they hired me to do was to see if it was possible, if he made it out of the bunker, where would he have gone?
What? This is incredible.
Yeah. And I'm that guy. I go and look at every single possibility. I look at the trains. I look at the planes. I look at the submarines. I look at the boats. I look at the infrastructure of the church that was hiding other Nazis. I went and found Nazis and figured out how they got out. And then I wanted to see, okay, well, if this guy did it, and he's a pathetic, like, colonel or a major, then the Fuhrer, they would have had a plan for him. Guys like Martin Bormann would never have let a guy like the Fuhrer die in a bunker. It just doesn't make sense. You know, if you look at our president, how many different ways do we have a plan to get that guy out? Countless. And all of them are airtight. You know, I personally know them.
Yeah.
So there's no way that we're talking, you know, the leader of what was going to be the Third Reich, all controlling all of Europe, the most powerful man and one of the richest. And when I say richest, not like, you know, he had millions of dollars. I mean, he had money that he could buy countries.
Yeah.
Gold that he took from the Jews, and gold that he melted from the Jews, and the money, the finances that he took from all the countries that he conquered, and then he just dies in a bunker. Well, so I went and found out if it was possible.
How many months or weeks did you have on this job?
6 months. 6 months.
Wow, it was that long. You were traveling for the entire 6 months, or you did some work back in the States?
A ton of research.
Okay.
You know, the files are intelligence files are a horrible thing to work with, especially intelligence files from 1945.
Yeah. When
I get intelligence files now, you know, there's a format. It's clear. You know, you have kind of like the 5 W's that you can input into systems: the who, the where, the when, the why, the how. In 1945, it was kind of just like these guys talking, and you'd have to sift through those reports to extrapolate the information that you needed. So there's a ton of research. Fortunately, the History Channel is big. History Channel has big money, and I'm a pretty dumb guy. So they could hire guys that were way smarter than me, you know, with amazing credentials, the PhDs, the archaeologists, the marine archaeologists, and put together a unique team, a team that has never been assembled before to do something like this.
So this is not some reality show stunt. This is real. This is a real deal. This is an investigation trying to get the answers to these questions.
Yeah. So the field guys, we had the movie Syriana with George Clooney.
Oh yeah.
That movie was made after a guy named Bob Baer. He was former CIA. That guy's on our team.
Wow.
The leading U.S. Marshal that has hunted more fugitives than anyone on the planet, he was on our team. The death claims investigator, and this was a unique perspective. So if somebody dies, they send a death claims investigator to go and prove that the guy is dead before they can award the insurance policy. We had the most expensive and the most experienced death claims investigator, private investigator on our team. We had kind of the most known historian in all Hitler lore as part of our team. I mean, this team was so comprehensive that it would be difficult for us not to have a stone that we don't overturn.
In total, how many people are on the team?
So everywhere that I would say the core of the team is 5 guys.
Okay.
But we brought in, they just recently discovered this hidden bunker in kind of the tri-border area in where the most northern Argentina. And in that, it's a Nazi hideout.
Oh.
I think that's what they know. They found Nazi gold there. They found Nazi coins there. They found radio parts. They found that it was completely self-sufficient. It had its own power. It had its own water, and it had its own food supply. It had its own medicine. And when the archaeologists came across it, they thought it was a mission that had just been left in the jungle, for a few hundred years. But then they started finding like canned goods from the late 40s or the mid 40s. And they're like, what the hell is this? And they started finding Nazi memorabilia. And so when we found that, we bring in coin experts, coin archaeologists. We bring in a whole bunch of social experts that could really look at the demographics and the socioeconomic classes in the area there. We brought in anthropologists. We brought in, when we're off the coast of Argentina, we were looking for evidence of something particular. We brought in a bunch of marine biologists, side sonar guys, magnetometer technicians, really the best dudes on the planet. So everywhere that we went, if we came to a problem or we needed the best, there was not, no expense that was too much to bring in the best in the world.
So you weren't. So I was under the impression that you were looking for, Nazis who were still alive and war criminals. You're actually the point of this show is to find out if he actually killed himself in 1945 or if he went on to live elsewhere. Is that the purpose of this whole thing?
I think the end result is to correct the narrative that has been historical. To say, okay, if he died in the bunker, then all the history books, that's exactly what it says, that Hitler died in the bunker in 1945 when he committed suicide with Eva Braun. That's not true. We can't absolutely say that. There's no way that we can say. So they could just add one word, if, or it's possible, but we know that there's no way to prove that. And as the show progresses, and things become so astoundingly clear, we changed history. To answer, specifically your question, yes, I think the end result is to be able to maybe rewrite history. But if you're gonna try to find the mother ant that rules the colony, you have to follow the other ants.
Yeah.
And so we went to the Nazis. We went to the places where we knew Nazis had escaped. We went and tracked Nazis to make sure that they could have made it the route that we were speculating that they were going to try. So we theorized this. I had my hypothesis here, and to prove that, I had to go and find guys that did just what I was saying that they were doing. And that's what we did. So I found Nazi after Nazi. Wow. I found grandkids, sitting there bragging to me that their grandfather got back in 1946. And as this grandson has an SS tattoo on his neck with an iron cross on his shoulder. Oh. It's real.
Wow. I'm super tempted to ask you what you're finding. Like, what's the end result? But I guess I have to watch the show, right?
There's 8 episodes. 8 episodes.
8 episodes.
You have 8 episodes. Sorry.
So November 10th on History. At what time?
10 your time or Eastern and 9 Central.
Okay. Wow. I cannot wait for this. I'm going to DVR this bad boy. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Yeah, of course. Amazing stuff. Cannot wait for it. So I guess I should. I know you have a lot of fans out there. I guess I should ask you: are you going to fight again? What's going on?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
I think, yeah.
What's going on? What do you got?
Big change in 2.5 months. 2.5 months ago, I was saying, man, they have to give me something cool. They have to give me something significant. And now I'm hearing inklings from UFC that I might get the winner of Vitor Belfort, Dan Henderson.
Oh.
I saw, Michael Bisping was saying he never wanted to fight a PED user again. That has been permanently disfigured, and I would be furious if I was Michael Bisping. But I'm the opposite. I want to go fight every single one of them, and beat the brakes off of them, and kind of put a big exclamation mark that this is a new era of the sport. That the clean athletes, we're going to smash every single one of you cheaters that have been historically making all the big money and cheating your way through it. Anderson Silva's, Vitor Belfort's, Dan Henderson's. I want you guys.
So have they told you specifically you're getting the winner of this fight on Saturday or something else? What have they told you?
So they're talking my agent, and those were the fights that I had said that I wanted, and he came back and said that they were interested in those fights.
Oh, wow. Do you have a perfect scenario, a perfect guy? Like, are you hoping Vitor wins on Saturday so you can get him finally?
Yes. Yeah. Anderson Silva, New Year's Eve. I don't even know if he's off his suspension.
No, he won't be.
That would be amazing.
He won't be.
No, he won't?
No, January 31st.
All right, January 31st. So we could fight on Valentine's Day in February.
Or the February 2nd card, but I feel like that would be a little too soon. They wouldn't book him that close to the suspension.
No. I said I'd fight Fedor on like a moment's notice. That would be pretty awesome.
But does he fall in that PED group for you?
No, but he's just like a legend.
Yeah.
And I would just love that, man.
But the good news is you're back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even when I was, filming this TV show, we're in Brazil, we're in Colombia, we're in Argentina. Jits is huge there.
Yeah.
I was able to go to, Gracie Humaita, like the headquarters. I'm a black belt from there, so I was able to train when I was there. And Nazis have a huge obsession with fighting, and it goes back to their origin, the genesis of where Nazism came. When the fascists and the social movements, they'd go and they'd beat the brakes off of everybody that was attending there. So you had to kind of be a tough guy in the beginning to be a Nazi, and that stayed true with the culture. So I would go to different fight clubs all over South America and try to glean information from conversations. As I'm grappling with a guy and I look and I see the Iron Cross tattooed on his arm. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
You're really good. Yeah, I like this sport. Let's can I buy you a drink? Tell me about your grandpa, please.
Yeah, and they didn't know that you were doing this for the show. Oh, did we lose him?
Lose you?
Oh,
I got you. You're back.
Did they have any idea you were working on the show? Did you have to tell them?
No. I had I lied about everything.
Okay.
I put a hidden camera in my gym bag with a microphone.
Wow.
And I just say I'm a UFC fighter. Because they didn't know who I was, and I'm just traveling South America on a break from MMA. They're like, oh yeah, we saw your last fight, against Yoel, blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, I would take a break too. And I was like, man, I'm just trying to find the roots. So you're trying to get back to the central core of fighting. What do you think? You're like, what do you do? And then they start talking, and then I own them.
Oh, this is great. This is very exciting stuff. The show, and also that you're sort of kind of retired. It wasn't a retirement, but your break is coming to an end. At least that's what it sounds like. So that's very exciting. So it's November 10th, History Channel, Hunting Hitler. As Tim said, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central. I will be watching this. I can't wait for it. I'm happy that an MMA guy is involved. This is very exciting. This is right up my alley. Thank you very much for breaking it all down, giving us the preview, and perhaps we'll talk about it 8 weeks later when we get to see what you found out.
As always, I'm at your disposal.
Thank you.
Super love your show, and just thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim. All the best. There he is, Tim Kennedy. Check out his show on November 10th. Can't wait for that. All right, let's move along now. Have been wanting to have our next guest on the program for quite some time. We have finally tracked her down, a very busy lady, but she has carved out some time for us. I'm talking to Miesha Tate right now. Miesha, how are you?
Doing well, Ariel. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for the time. So, like I said, I've essentially wanted to have you on the show ever since that infamous now announcement on Good Morning America. You went to film a film, and you had some time off. You were traveling all over the place. So I'm happy we can finally get you on the program here. And the timing is interesting because you did an interview with ESPN last week, ESPN.com. And, rightfully so. I think a lot of people are on your side on this one. You voiced some frustrations about your place and the way this whole thing went down. A week later, less than a week later, where do you stand? Did anyone reach out to you? Did anyone kind of give you the lowdown and reassure you that you're in a better place than you thought? What's going on in your mind right now?
The only person that I've talked to about it was Sean Shelby, and that was actually the same day that I had done the interview, so I'm still kind of in that same spot. I don't really have any answers because Sean's obviously not in the authoritative position to be able to tell me exactly what's going to happen. He doesn't make those decisions, but, he said, yeah, I mean, is it possible I'll get a title shot? Maybe, but it's just one of those things that he couldn't tell me yes or no, so I feel like I definitely need some more answers, and I told him that if the reality of it is that I cannot have a title shot, period, then I need to be realistic about what my future goals are and what I want to do from here on out.
What did he say to that?
Well, I mean, he just kind of, I understand, I get it, but he was just, we don't want you to retire, we don't want you to, to go that route. He's like, I think you still have a lot to offer in the sport. And I said, he's like, you still feel like you're competitive, right? I mean, you're doing well. I'm like, yeah, I still feel competitive. I still feel great. I still feel like I could accomplish a lot. But I think everyone's goal is to be the champion, and everyone's in this for goal to be the best. And if that is not an option for me, then what am I doing? That is a question I have to ask myself because it changes things. It really does.
So did you ever think like this before? Did this all come about after the announcement that you weren't getting the title shot, or did you start to think this way even before the Jessica Ai fight or any other fight?
Oh, no, it definitely was not before the Jessica Ai fight. I was at an all-time motivated point in my career, feeling like everything was coming together, the years that I put in to the sport, becoming a better athlete, becoming stronger, becoming faster, becoming more knowledgeable, more tricky. I felt like I really am at a high point in my career, really the best that I've ever felt. So I felt really good, and I felt very excited after that fight. I didn't take any time off. I began training immediately, and it was just a really, quite a devastating blow to find out, via my text messages being blown up by everyone being sympathetic that I'm not getting the title shot, and I'm half asleep going, what? What's going on? And they're texting me pictures of Holly and Ronda. The image is already out on UFC.com. It was just like, wait, what? We were completely not informed about this at all. And I suppose the handling of it is more, stings more than anything, because I just felt like it was so poorly handled. I've been a professional, I've been a team player, with the UFC. I've always been a company woman, and I just felt a little bit frustrated that it wasn't handled differently, or that they didn't think for some reason that, or, that I would not say anything, which I wouldn't have. I separate my professionalism from my own emotional feelings, but I think it would have and should have been handled differently.
So the date was August 21st. I remember they were pumping up that Ronda was going to be on Good Morning America, but we didn't know why. And she, comes out and announces the Holly Holm fight. And then I remember talking to your manager, Josh, and he had no idea. He was floored. He was fired up. He said that he believed you were still sleeping at the time of us even talking on the phone a couple hours later. What can you tell us? Have you ever experienced anything like that? You're just waking up. How do you react to that?
No, absolutely not. I mean, that's a lifelong goal and dream of mine to become the UFC champion, and I knew how important that this all was to me, and I definitely had no reason to take it lightly. I was very motivated, feeling very good, feeling very confident, and to wake up to that, it was almost like waking up to still being in a nightmare. I felt like I wasn't even sure if I was quite awake yet. I'm like, am I still sleeping? And what is going on right now? I'm like half dazed, and I'm trying to take it all in, and I just felt extremely overwhelmed. And then, of course, I wanted to verify it, because I'm like, well, why would so many people be texting me if it wasn't true? But how could it be true? I was in disbelief. I was like, it can't be true. I was like, they already promised me. They already announced it. They already did all this stuff. So I mean, I was so confused, and then I had to talk to Josh immediately, and, you know, he was verifying it, and we found out it was true, and I just got really depressed, honestly. I wasn't very happy or very motivated at the moment. I didn't know what to think, so it took me a couple weeks to kind of wrap my mind around it and, you know, get back up on the horse and try to, you know, start training again and figure out, I guess, start thinking about what I want to do. And then I heard Dana White announce, oh, Miesha's one more fight away. Well, I'm like, okay, well, shoot, it's not what I wanted, but one more fight isn't that bad. And then he's like, oh, she's still a few more fights away. I see another headline come out. I'm like, you know, what is going on here? Like, realistically, you seem to be reneging on the entire thing. And then, you know, I don't know what's going on. So one fight, a few fights, how many fights, if ever, you know, all these questions are kind of going through my mind.
Have you talked to him yet?
No, I haven't. Yeah, I finally, you know, I made it very clear. So, you know, not to say that the UFC didn't want to talk to me. It really wasn't that. It was really more on my end that I was frustrated, to say the least, and I told them I would just want you guys to deal with Josh. You know, Josh is my manager. That's what I pay him to do, and he's a damn good manager.
Yes.
I said, just talk to him. You guys figure it out, and you let me know what's going on. You know, so I really put Josh in charge of all of that. So I told the UFC, don't contact me. Don't contact me directly. I don't really want to, you know, hear exactly what you guys have to say unless it's coming from Josh, you know. So that's really how that went. So, you know, they were very respectful of that. And I finally reached out to Dana the other day and said that I would like to sit down. And he said, yeah, it's long overdue. Let's sit down and talk. So at some point we are going to talk, and we'll hopefully figure something out. But hopefully he doesn't say, you know, that the title shot is not an option.
Yes, and by the way, not that I'm ass kissing here, but if I can clone Josh Jones into you know, 25 different Josh Jones and have him manage a bunch of other fighters, I would be very happy. He is tremendous at his job, and I appreciate him greatly. So you are lucky to have him in your corner. So do you know when you'll be meeting Dana White?
Probably around mid-November is what I'm thinking, because I won't be back in Vegas until like at least like the 10th or so. So. But, you know, on a lighter note, I've been staying really busy. Like I said, with you know, Kevin Harvick Incorporated, my management, they have been crushing it for me. So, I mean, really feel like other than fighting, I'm not skipping a beat. I've been staying very busy, and that's all very motivating too. So I suppose that's another reason why walking away from fighting it's not what I want, but I feel like it's an option because I'm definitely able to sustain myself by other means. And I really like the commentary. I really like doing that kind of stuff and working with Fox and being an analyst, and want to film more movies and more appearances and all that stuff. So I've been very, very busy, luckily, since then. I'm very fortunate.
How real of an option? Like if you say, okay, I'm never going to fight again, is that okay by you? Can you live with that? Or are you okay with ending your career and never fighting again?
Well, it's not what I want. So, I mean, I guess there's different definitions of okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what I want, but I also know that I'm not going to – there's a point. There's just a point where it's not okay, and I'm not willing to bend, and I'm not willing to break. You know, I'm a very, very stubborn person. I'm a very strong-willed person. I think I'm a fair person. I don't think I'm asking for too much. But, again, too, I mean, I feel like – you know, Joe Rogan maybe said it best. He you know, had an article written on him that I read of some things that he said during his podcast, and I really think that he was very spot on. He said, you know, I get it. I completely sympathize with Miesha, and he's like, I don't understand why there's such a big discrepancy between number one and number two. And he said, you know, Ronda made over $6 million, according to Forbes, just on her fighting last year. I'm going to tell you, I made nowhere near, not even close to that, and yet they want me to fight higher ranked and much better skilled opponents than Ronda's fighting. And she gets paid millions, and I get paid pennies on the dollar. It's just something to me. You know, I understand they have a job to do. They want to promote. They want to make fights that sell. I get it, but this is also my life, and I'm not a robot, and I'm not a puppet, and I'm not going to stand for something that I don't feel right about, that I don't agree with, and I will not take fights if my heart's not into it, period. It doesn't matter who it is. Like, if I don't feel good about it, I'm not going to do it. That's the whole reason I do this sport, is because I love it. And when the politics get in the way and they start messing shit up, excuse my language, I'm just not going to stand for it. It's not why I got into fighting. That's not why I do what I do. And I'm not going to go out there and put on a crap performance in front of all my fans because, I didn't feel right about it.
I could see someone saying too, like, who cares about the belt? Why don't you just rack up those paychecks, get paid? You only have a limited amount of time to be a high-level athlete. Does that interest you at all, or does the belt mean more than just an actual belt to you?
That does interest me a little bit as far as there's two ways to go, obviously. So one way is, this is considering that maybe the title, as long as Ronda has it, is not maybe an option for me.
Yeah.
And, if they can't give me that yes or no, then I'm just going to say, I'm going to lean towards no because I don't want to get my hopes up, obviously. So considering that, if that were the case, then I can do one of two things. I can either fight and just take the everyone says the Donald Cerrone approach and just fight as much and as often as I can and just rack up the paychecks and fight for money, essentially. Or I can say, I'm not going to stand for this. I don't want to fight for the UFC anymore. I don't want to fight at all, possibly anymore. And, let's look into the other avenues that I've been working on transitioning into, for the future anyways. They're all coming together. Like I said, I have an amazing management team. I think I have a future with Fox as an analyst. Absolutely love working with them and lots more movie deals and all those kinds of things. So I definitely don't think, it would be like you wouldn't see me anymore, but maybe as a competitive athlete, it may unfortunately be the reality of it. I don't know.
What was interesting to me about the way the whole thing went down was, and we've joked about this privately when you've been working on the shows and whatnot. One time I remember texting you and asking you to confirm, I think it was when you were about to fight Rin Nakai, and you said to me, which was totally fine, you were like, that's not in my job description to confirm stories with you. And I was like, all right, I never heard that one before, but that is a loyal employee. That is a loyal employee. She is not going to even, give me anything off the record, anonymous, whatever. So then when I saw that they didn't even tell you that they were going to announce this, I was like, Miesha's probably the one person in the UFC who maybe she'll be upset, but she's probably going to keep her mouth shut. Was that what bothered you the most, that you couldn't even get a heads up?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like I've been with I was the longest signed female athlete from Strikeforce to through the UFC, and I've never had that reputation of being a gossiper. I've never broken news that anybody's ever told me before in the UFC matchups or anything, and I don't do that because I think it's disrespectful, and I wouldn't have done that. So I guess to me, I felt a little bit disrespected. Like, you guys really think that's my character, but I mean, I don't know. What can you say, or what can you do,
Is it fair to say that you're not quite over it now? Like, it's only been 2 months, and this is your career. You don't have a fight book, so is it still bothering you?
Yes, that's definitely, fair to say. That's why I'm at this awkward limbo stage, and I just don't have answers. So I decided I needed to reach out and figure something out, because I need to know for myself, for my career, what my next move is going to be. And I have some more demands that I want to make. I realize that Ronda is making a lot, and I feel like when I walk out for my weigh-ins, when I walk out to my fights, I have an amazing fan base. They really always show their love and appreciation, and you can tell I have the loudest crowd response pretty much of anyone fighting on the card, besides Ronda, of course. But when it's a card of myself, I always have a huge crowd response. I have a tremendous fan base, and I don't think any of us really want the retirement to be the situation. So the UFC needs to kind of wake up and smell the coffee and, make something work,
As Rampage Jackson once said, the cheddar makes it better, right?
What was that?
I said, as Rampage Jackson once said, the cheddar makes it better.
Exactly. That's a very, very accurate statement.
Yes. Speaking of awkward, just like a day or so after this all came out, you went to go film a movie with Holly Holm and Cyborg. How awkward was that?
It was a little awkward, I'm not going to lie. Not because of Cyborg, obviously. Her and I get along great, but because of Holly and the whole situation being so fresh at the time.
Yeah.
her and I really not knowing each other very well. It was kind of like didn't really know what to expect, but I only knew that it must be more awkward for her than it was for me because she probably maybe felt that I would be upset at her. But again, as a testament to just having professionalism, I wasn't. I mean, if I was in her shoes and the UFC called me up and said, "Hey, this is what you're doing," I would have done it too. So how can I blame the girl for taking the opportunity? So I wasn't mad at her. I didn't take it as anything personal. She got an opportunity, and she should go for it. But it still sucks for me.
So she is a huge underdog going into this fight. Do you give her any kind of chance?
If I had to pick, I'm definitely going to go with the champion.
Yeah.
Something against her. I just don't think it's a good style matchup. I really don't. I don't think that she's going to be able to stop Ronda for 25 minutes, taking her down and beat her. Even if she jabs and moves, I mean, she's going to have to run a lot, which means the champion's coming forward. And in order to become the champion, you have to beat the champion. So I'm curious to see what kind of game plan they're going to put together to try to do that.
Originally, they were booked to fight January 2nd. Then it got moved to November 14th in Melbourne. Would you have been ready if you were in that position where you were supposed to fight in January and then moved to November? Would that have been okay with you?
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
Enough time to train to get ready for a fight.
Is that going to be a tough one for you to watch? Will you watch it? Because now, as we come to find out, perhaps the biggest show in UFC history, all this attention, it's going to ramp up in the next week or so. How will you feel in the days leading up to it, and even if you do decide to watch it?
Oh, I'll definitely be watching it. I'm definitely vested still in that fight, and I want to see what's going to happen. I'll actually be hosting the fight at the Sapphire in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So if anybody is going to be out there, come on out and you can watch the fights there with us. They have a pretty cool setup there. I hosted the last fight with her and Betch as well. So always interesting, and hopefully that'll be me in there before too long.
Did they offer you a fight against Amanda Nunes?
They kind of did. They said, would you be interested? And I just said, you know what, you guys, I mean, it was on a Fight Pass card, and I just said, this is not at all. You guys go from taking a pay-per-view title fight, and you want to offer me a fight on Fight Pass. I don't care who it is. I'm not fighting on Fight Pass at the moment. I understand Fight Pass is growing, but I was like, I've already done my Fight Pass fight with the Rin Nakai, and it just, you know what I'm saying? It felt like kind of another slap in the face. So I was just so frustrated that it just wasn't appealing to me whatsoever. So, it's nothing against Amanda. I think she's an amazing fighter. But and I would love that fight at some point. I think we would put on a spectacular fight. But it's kind of when push comes to shove, it was my way of pushing back because, again, Amanda's ranked like 4th or 5th. And, then Holly's ranked 9th or something like that. It's like, this is just, like I said, this is dumb. If you guys, I'm not the champion, so why am I fighting girls tougher than Ronda for pennies on the dollar? Period. It's a matter about making a statement and just saying to the UFC, I'm not going to be, not going to be pushed around into this, so it's not going to happen, unless you guys make some serious changes.
So here we are, and the fight is rapidly approaching. It's less than 2 weeks away. Do you think there's any chance in your heart and your mind that, hey, enough time has passed, she's about to fight, then you're kind of on the same schedule, that this will blow over? If Ronda wins, you'll just get the title shot. She'll have fought, and you'll be the next one. I think everyone would agree that after this fight, if Ronda wins, you're the number one contender. You're the one with that resume. So do you think there's any chance that happens? Is that what you'll be fighting for?
Well, let me put it this way. I've been the number one contender, and I'm still not getting the title fight. So right. I don't think so. I think that they're probably going to want me to fight once, twice. Who knows? Depends, I suppose, whatever else comes about. But I think that if I did take a backseat or a back burner and I wasn't fighting, I don't think that I would be next in line. Okay,
so you're not expecting that?
No, I'm not.
What do you think happens after you meet with Dana?
It's either gonna go up in flames, or he's gonna say that I'm making some valid points and make some adjustments. I'm pretty dead set on what I feel like I deserve and what I want. I know what I want, and I'm just not gonna not going to take anything less. So I guess he's going to have to be prepared to deal with one stubborn woman.
Are you going in there alone?
Yes.
How come you're not bringing your manager?
Because Josh has already talked to Dana. They've already had an open conversation, and I just feel like everything that they've needed to say to each other has been said. So this is more of like a heart-to-heart between Dana and myself, and he, to try to get him to understand where I'm coming from. And I don't know how far off base he is from that. I like I said, I haven't talked to him, so he could be, already kind of, on my page, or he could be thinking something completely different. I really never know Dana, so I really don't know what to expect. And I hope for the best.
I saw that you were training with Donald Cerrone last week. I also saw you tapping out, I think it's like an Australian boy band. I don't know who these guys were, but I'm wondering, is it hard for you to be in the gym now? Is it hard to find that love to get up and go train, or is it starting to slowly come back?
It's definitely coming back. I love training regardless, so I think even if I wasn't to fight anymore, I would still be hard-pressed to not find me in the gym. So I enjoy grappling, I enjoy learning, I enjoy training, I enjoy all of the perks and benefits that come with it. But I was having a little bit of fun with the Janowskins. They are like a YouTube comedy sensation group, and also known for their music and whatnot, from Australia. And we had fun. I thrashed about 4 of them, so it was fun.
Yes, it was quite the dominant performance. Okay, so here we are. Final thing. It's November 2nd, 2015. Do you think Miesha Tate fights again? Is this it, or do you still have some more great performances, some more great highlights, some more fights in you?
I have it in me, but it needs to be right. I'm not going to do it if it doesn't feel right. So do I have the ability and the drive to want to fight more? Definitely.
Okay.
But am I willing to consider retirement if things don't go the way that I feel like I need them to go? Yeah. So I feel like I'm really at a big turning point, and this is a big Y in the road for me. It's definitely going to be a game changer one way or the other.
Well, that feels like it would be a crime. 29 years old, 4-fight winning streak, those great performances for you to walk away, hopefully can get figured out. As Yogi Berra once said, you're definitely at the fork in the road, but you got to take it. Which way are you going to take it? Which way is it going to go?
Exactly.
Yes, right?
And I've already been fighting for 10 years, so it's not like it's a short career for me. I know a lot of people didn't really know about women's mixed martial arts up until, it was signed with the UFC a little over 2 years ago. But, I've been doing this for a long time. I have a lot of miles on this body, and I've been doing contact sports since I was 14. It starts to catch up with you after a while. So it's like, it's got to be worth my while. I put my body through a lot. I put my mind through a lot. I put myself through a lot to get through these training camps and be the best fighter I can be. And I'm willing to do it. It just has to make sense.
Amen to that. Miesha, appreciate the time. Thank you very much for your candid answers, and I hope everything goes well with Dana White. I think I speak for everyone. We still want to see you fight, so I understand where you're at, understand your frustrations. Hopefully it all goes well, and we could see you in there sooner rather than later.
I appreciate it. Always a pleasure, Ariel.
Thank you very much. There she is, Miesha Tate. In many people's eyes, the #1 contender in the UFC's women's bantamweight division. She will not be fighting for the title on November 14th. That honor goes to Holly Holm in front of what is expected to be the biggest crowd in UFC history at Etihad Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. But perhaps, if all goes Ronda's way, as many people are expecting it to, maybe she just gets the title shot afterwards. Who knows? Cyborg still has that 140-pound debut coming up. There are basically 2 fresh opponents, in my opinion, out there for Ronda, outside of the obvious Cyborg fight, Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena. Right now, I can't think of any other fighter in that division outside of the UFC's division who you can say, all right, this is going to be a major test for Ronda. So Amanda Nunes, will she get a title shot next after the win over Sarah McMahon? I could see that happening as well. Juliana Pena coming off a win. I don't know if she's going to get it right away. So she's definitely in there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens after that meeting with Dana White later on this month. All right, one guest to go. And I said before the Miesha Tate interview, I've been trying to get her on the program. I've been trying to get TJ Grant on the program since well before that. It has been over a year since we talked to Nova Scotia's own TJ Grant, a very busy man these days, but like I said, anytime I probably get, every week 5 or 6 questions. Where's TJ Grant? And especially in the last couple of weeks after what happened to Joseph Duffy, got a ton of people saying, "Can we hear from TJ Grant? Where is TJ Grant?" So we have finally tracked him down. He is joining us right now via the phone. TJ Grant, right here, right now on the MMA Hour. TJ, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am great. Congratulations, first and foremost, to both you and your wife. You are now a father of 2, right?
That's right, yeah.
Very exciting.
Gave birth to my little boy there on Thursday, so it's awesome.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That's very exciting. So now you have 2 boys, right? Or 1 girl and a boy?
No, I have that's right, yeah.
All right.
Casey and Duncan.
So I have to ask you the question right off the top that I get asked almost every single day. I'm sure your Twitter page is no different, and then some. Are you done fighting?
Who knows, man? I've been doing this sport. Well, I did it a long time. I won't say I'm still doing it currently. It's I'm not gonna close the door on ever coming back to fight. But at this point, I'm just taking care of myself and my family. First and foremost. I did well in the UFC. I wouldn't say I made a lot of money, but I was able to buy a house and buy another one. But at this point, for me to, where did the sport really leave me? It kind of left me injured, and then I had, a little over a year where I just basically accumulated debt, like most fighters do in between fights, and so basically, I was hurt for a while, and I just had to go back to work, just be a regular guy for a bit, and I would definitely entertain the thought of going back to fighting, but at this point, I've got to also realize that to get back into fighting, it costs money. You got training camps and basically put your whole life on hold. So right now it's not something that's in the cards for me, just having, 2 little ones. That's obviously taken precedent over my life and potentially in the future, you never know. I still feel like I'd love to compete. I still feel like there's some fire in me, and I definitely love combat sports. I love competing. So I would I'd like to do it potentially, but I still haven't made my mind up at all.
Health-wise, how are you feeling these days?
Actually, I'm feeling pretty good. My body isn't obviously as good as I'd like it to be. Just like my back's a little banged up, but besides that, I feel pretty good. The concussion thing is in the history books, but you never know, right? I did this for a long time. I'm sure a lot of other fighters will tell you the same. They'll get up and they'll walk into another part of their house, and then they'll just kind of realize, like, what did I come here for? Well, I was going to get something. What was that? And I don't know if that's from fighting or just getting older or just kind of being lazy with my brain, but that's about the extent of how I, short-term memory loss, maybe a little bit, who knows, but it's probably pretty common among fighters, so I feel good.
Obviously, the initial concussion is what led to this time away from the sport, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've never actually heard the exact story as to how it happened. Are you able to share that?
Yeah, I fought Gray at UFC 160. He tagged me with one. I remember feeling like bells ringing in my head, for like half a second during the fight, and then 30 seconds later the fight was over. You know what I mean? It was just so quick, and then I never received any type of suspension. And I should have probably known better than to train. I'm assuming, I'm not a doctor, but I'm assuming, you don't have to have a vomiting or get knocked out to have a concussion. You don't even have to get knocked down. I think that was probably a little bit of a concussion, I'm willing to say. That guy hits pretty hard, and he tagged me pretty good. And then, I just kind of went back to training, and, I was getting ready for the potential, the fight with Benson. I was just doing jiu-jitsu, and, I had my training partner went to sweep me. I put my head out to stop the sweep. And, I got a foot in the head in the same roll. I don't know which one did it, but after that roll was done, it was the last roll of the night. I just had like a headache, and it just didn't go away. So that was kind of how it happened.
And as you mentioned, you were getting ready for a title fight. You came back, or at least they rebooked you in another title fight, but then you had to pull out of that. Is that because you came back too soon? Was it still bothering you? Did you re-injure yourself?
No, you know what? I wasn't even training. I was basically like, I wasn't even sure what the hell I was going to do. I didn't know. I was trying to be optimistic, like, okay, I'm going to beat this thing. I'm going to feel better next week. And, I've had optimistic people in my corner. Yeah, I think that's the way you kind of have to approach an injury. But I didn't, I just wasn't getting better. And when they announced that fight, I was like, okay, cool. Like, hopefully we can get it, like, later on in the year, and I'll feel better. And then it just never really happened. Like, the symptoms never went away. So I just basically let the UFC know pretty much right away that, because they announced it without me even confirming it, right? Like, They said, okay, you're going to fight him. And obviously I'm not going to turn down a title shot, but I also had to let them know, like, I'm still not feeling great. So either we can postpone it, which I wouldn't have been able to do that anyway. Like, my health, I've seen what this sport can do to people. And, it definitely, it's an amazing sport, and the highs are high, but the lows are low, and there's a life after, and you got to, I've seen people give a little too much in the ring, too much of themselves, and it doesn't work out so good for them. And I feel like I'm the type of guy that when I fight, I put myself on the line. I don't even know if I want to entertain. Like, I do want to entertain. Like, I take pride in being able to go out there and say, okay, like, those fights stunk, but my fight's not going to stink. I'm going to go and, whether it's the most technical or flashy, or it'll never be the most flashy, and usually it's not the most technical, but you're going to be excited. You're going to see drama, and that's what I always try to bring. And that's just the way, my DNA is. I want to go out there and fight the guy and see who's got, the tougher spirit. And that's also a dangerous way to kind of go about it. So I don't know. I mean, it's, it's, for me, it's a little bit scary. You know what I mean? I'm not closing the door, but at the same point, I want to make sure I'm 100%, on board with it, because you can't be halfway in or out of the sport. You got to be all the way in or all the way out, basically, unless you're just training for fun, which is something I still do. I still do jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I'll still hit pads or hit the bag and, lift weights and do all the other stuff. But, as far as like contact sparring, I haven't really done that. I sparred once just for one of my buddies there last year. Didn't feel any worse from it. You know what I mean? But that's pretty much it.
So there was a report that came out last year from the Regina Leader Post that you were working in a mine over there in Saskatchewan. That's accurate, right?
Well, it's kind of like, everyone thought like, oh, TJ's mining for gold or mining for coal or something. They're constructing a potash mine in Saskatchewan, the K+S Legacy site. It's like a really big site. It's all under construction now, and I was working just like it's like civil construction, so all excavating and stuff. And so I kind of got, a little bit of experience doing something different. I mean, I was fortunate enough not to have a real job for 8 years or 9 years or something like that. So, it was kind of cool. And then you go to work for the man. And luckily, I got to work for some pretty cool people and meet a lot of cool people and, get some experience doing something different.
How did you get that job?
Called my uncle.
Oh, okay.
My family's, they basically, it's on my dad's side, it's, construction. So those guys, I had a lot of connections through that. So my Uncle Paul got me a job, and I was out there like a week later. I wanted to basically wait for the UFC in Halifax to happen because my friend Chris was going to fight, and I also committed to doing some promotional stuff for the UFC. So, I just hung around. And after that, I went to work. So I worked a full year at that site, and then I just came home last week.
Oh, wow.
For my wife, yeah. I've been coming home. I work 2 weeks on, 1 week off. So, it's not a bad gig. You get your travel paid for and a place to stay and food, and, it wasn't too bad. Make good money.
So what are you going to do now that job is over?
hey, who knows? I'm going to maybe explore teaching some martial arts and just kind of try to enjoy a little bit of home time. I haven't really had it in the last year, and my wife's got her hands full right now. She's a little bit sore. She had to kind of go under the knife to give birth there. So, yeah, I'm doing my best here, and I'm just kind of enjoying that for the time being. Not really thinking too far ahead. Just got to enjoy some home time.
What was it like for you to attend that show in Halifax, which kind of felt like the perfect scenario for your return? I know, as you mentioned, Chris Kalidas, your good friend and training partner, picked up a huge win. What a story that was, him getting the call in just a few days' notice, defeating Paddy Houlihan. But for you to be there and not be able to fight, and your future still very much in doubt, what was that like for you?
I never really dwelled on it, or, a couple times you get down on yourself, but by that point, the Halifax show, I wasn't really, it was ancient history really, like as far as feeling bad about situations. I mean, I've already given up title shots and things I worked so hard for. I could have main evented a UFC show and had my picture on a poster, and by the time that fight came around, I was actually really happy that Chris got the fight, and just everything, how it kind of was like almost like a dream come true for him. It just, everything happened, and he actually turned down fights, at a higher weight class for that same show. And then the way it all just unfolded, and then getting to see him fight, and the drama that was involved in his fight was really like the only good fight of the night, honestly. Sun Sound Caraway was a pretty good scrap, but that was it was a magical night for him, and I got to enjoy it, and I got to have my my adrenaline pumping. I was emotional. I felt like it was just an incredible moment. So that really made it all for me. I had to tell Chris that too. How much that really kind of if I wasn't going to fight, that was the best possible scenario otherwise.
I think this is the part that is hard for people like me to wrap our heads around, because you have been fighting since 2006. You finally got, as you mentioned, to the title shot, the main event, being on the poster. The injury happens, and that's understandable to take some time off, but you were so close. Wasn't that enough to try to get you to come back? Like, why say goodbye now if there are no lingering issues?
Well, I had a dark time, like for like a year, or a little more than a year. So it's not really, I'm sure anybody who's gone through any type of head injury will understand all that goes along with it. I mean, you can't really describe, like, you can describe it, but people don't, when you wake up every day and you have like a headache and you feel like shit, and you don't really feel good. Like, I had a 3-month-old or something, like, she was 2 months old or a month old when I had got the concussion, and basically, like, all those things that were going on, like, you see your kid smile and stuff, and you're happy, but at the same time, like, that you're just not enjoying it like you probably should. So, there's a lot of that stuff kind of goes into it, and I'm going to be a man and look after my family, and if I it's something I love to do, but I've seen what the sport can do to people, and I've never taken money or fights for money, you know what I mean? I've always kind of done it my way, and if this is the way I got to walk away, it's the way I'll walk away. But again, I'm not going to say that I'm going to do that for sure. I just I'm looking after myself right now and taking care of my family, and that's number one.
Does the UFC reach out to you from time to time with opportunities, or is it more like you'll reach out to them when you're ready, or if you're ready?
Yeah, I mean, they reached out basically when with the whole, like, fighting Anthony Pettis, December 2013 or 14, I don't remember.
14.
And 14. So when they
13.
That,
excuse me.
13, yeah.
Yeah.
It was 13, yeah. So they reached out about that, and then I kind of was in touch with their doctors and stuff, and I had my doctors here, and then the show in Halifax kind of. And anytime I needed anything, I could call them. They helped me out financially with some medical bills. Like they helped me go see some people and do some things. And I got to go to the Carrick Institute, where that's where Sidney Crosby kind of got his big start in his recovery from his concussion, and actually he reached out to me and gave me some information. So I went there and I saw Dr. Antonucci there, and he helped me a lot, and that was really like a big turning point. And then once I felt like I was on the road to recovery, I went to work. I just, I felt like that was what I needed to do to kind of get my mind away from being in the rut that I was in at home, just thinking about fighting so much. I had to go do something different, and that's really where I was at. I mean, yeah.
Was that the first time?
I just went on a tangent there. I don't even know.
No. I know exactly where you're at. Was that the first time that you spoke to Sidney Crosby, who, of course, famously dealt with his own concussion issues, and you're both from Cole Harbour, obviously a very big name in the world of sport. Did you ever have a relationship with him prior to that?
No. I mean, I know we have some mutual friends and stuff, and a guy I went to school with that was in my grade, a friend of mine, his brothers played with Sidney all through the years, and they're good friends. And so he basically just wrote me on Facebook one day and said, "Hey, Sidney wants your number, and he wants to just give you some information." And that was actually meant a lot to me to to hear from somebody like that. It kind of gave me a boost. Sometimes with concussions, I think that mentally, once you're in that zone where you're kind of stuck in the funk, it's just hard to get out, and that really just kind of helped me recharge the batteries a little bit, because it's all so much of it's psychological after a while if you've had lingering concussion symptoms, and that kind of helped me. And getting to go down there, it helped me, and I had so many people that really just helped me a lot. But Sidney definitely was appreciated.
Considering how things have gone, are you even able to watch the sport these days?
Oh yeah, I mean, I haven't really caught a few of the shows lately because I've been away, but there's been some great fights. I remember the UFC there with McGregor and Mendez. That was an incredible UFC, and it would have been nice to see if that fight was a great fight, but at the same time, I feel like we were kind of, maybe if it was Aldo or just a little bit more fit Mendez, I would have liked to just see a little more drama, because McGregor kind of weathered the storm, and then once he got his opportunity, he struck. But I don't think that was 100% the Chad Mendes we're used to seeing. And but I mean, that whole card, that was one of my favorite UFC fights. I mean, I've probably got about 5 that I could say that have been my favorite UFCs of all time, and that would be on the top 5, I would say.
The way things are in the UFC these days, the state of the UFC with the Reebok deal, does that factor into your decision to return at all?
No. What are you going to say, right? I never made a lot of money from sponsors. I made more than I would make if I came back to the UFC right now from the Reebok deal. But it is what it is, and it does kind of save the whole having to go out and try to get them. But I don't really know. I don't really have much to say about that. I don't have anything really positive or negative to say. I don't really know. I haven't been in the sport. I haven't been backstage for a while or anything like that. So
it's not stopping you from coming back, though, right?
No, if I come back, it's because I want to have glory, and it's not because of money. I mean, money is awesome, but I'm not making the fuck you money in the UFC and the retirement money in the UFC. I'm making enough though, so that I can, if you're smart with it, you can do all right for yourself. But it's all about competition, and that feeling of victory is the best feeling there is. Even defeat, sometimes if you gave it your all, and you have your opponent's respect, and they have, they obviously are going to have yours, and that's also it's just the whole sport, the nerves, everything, the feeling like you want to puke and got to piss every 5 seconds, all that stuff, and then going through all the nerves, warming up and questioning yourself, and then all the talks you have, internally. That's not fun. I mean, it's horrifying and it's terrible. That's what keeps so many people from actually doing the sport. But when you can actually look back on it, it's pretty awesome.
In February of 2014, the UFC announced that they were going to support this fighter study at the Cleveland Clinic, Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health, and really try to get behind keeping the fighters as safe and healthy as possible, especially as it pertains to head trauma. Did you ever look into that? Did they ever reach out to you to go over there? Are you involved in that in any way?
Yeah, actually, I went out there, I think in June 2014, May or June. And, I went there and I did I went through the whole process. And they contacted me this year and offered me to go out. And, obviously the UFC is taking care of it. So I could have went down there, but I was working and I had a lot of stuff on the go. And that was really, it just wasn't the right time. I would definitely go down again. They kind of just said get in touch with us, and you just brought that up. I actually forgot all about it, but I'll probably continue on and every year kind of go down there and follow up with it. I'd like to give some information or whatever I can do. It is a study and it's going to take time, but I do like the way the sport is going and people are starting. You're hearing guys talk about it. I would say that I didn't train in a gym where guys were trying to knock each other out, but hindsight's 20/20, but I didn't know. But you shouldn't be sparring multiple times in a week, and you should just really try to monitor that, and also just being more realistic and honest with yourself. Most guys are just oh, I got hit, fuck, I'm gonna get this guy back, or I'm not gonna admit that guy hurt me, or I felt a little bit, I never would say I got a concussion in sparring, but I mean in the sense that I got rocked to the point of not being able to defend myself. But as fighters, we get hit with good shots in training, and you don't want to even tell your training partner you ate a good shot, but you'll be the first one to get right back in for the next round or spar 2 days later. And I like how now it's starting to become more talked about, because hey, you learn from other people's mistakes. You learn from your own mistakes. And obviously I would have liked to know this stuff a couple of years ago, but I didn't. And if I can, help people in my story. And that's why I appreciated Joe Duffy. I never want to see a main event go, especially a fight that I wanted to actually watch. I've been hearing a lot of good things about him, and I would have liked to see that fight. And it really sucks for his career. But it's good to see that is a real injury. People always go, how come we don't hear about it in MMA? We hear about it in football, these other sports, and now it's you're starting to hear about it. Oh, it's a real thing. There's guys that have been out for Chris Holdsworth, other guys. They're in limbo. They don't know if they're going to fight again. They want to, but it is a real thing, and it's been affecting a lot more people that I know personally that have talked to me. But I'm not going to air their
Sure.
Information. But it's not as unknown as guys are getting hurt, and it's a contact sport. The best way to kind of monitor is just to limit your amount of during your training. Useless hits. When a guy's tired, not making him do 3 more rounds. Make it more technical. Do something different. I think that'll prolong guys' careers. You don't really feel shots, and then suddenly, you start getting headaches. It's maybe you just didn't need to take that many shots in your training. Fighting is a long game. It's you see people, the worst thing can happen to a fighter, he gets success early, and then it just ruins him. And then he starts fighting these guys. I was lucky, even though, I would, at the time, I hated losing. There was times when I lost that I just wasn't ready to be where I wanted to be fighting. And it's good that you lose, because as long as it's not too devastating, or you have somebody that's kind of controlling your career, because the farther you go quicker, that could spell doom for you. And next thing you know, you're in there with the Lions. You're not ready to be there. And fighting's a lifelong journey. You look at Robbie Lawler. That guy was, I don't know. I personally didn't think he was going to have a future in the UFC. When he came and fighting Josh Koscheck and other guys, and you just kind of forget about him. But he's been plugging away, getting better. He took time off from sparring, and that guy right there is a warrior, and I love to watch that guy fight. And he's incredibly skilled. He's probably one of the best strikers, skill-wise in the UFC. But he's got that, that combination of power and heart and determination. He's just an exciting fighter. But he knows what it takes to be that fighter. So limit the strikes, in your training. And, that's made his career a lot longer.
When something like the Joe Duffy story happens, do you get a ton of people writing you, hey, what like I said happened to me? Are you getting fans all the time on social media? I see you tweet from time to time asking you what's up, just because you haven't made a formal announcement?
Yeah, I mean, I get messages. That was, like you said, you wrote me that day. And I also had a few messages that week and that day as well. And, I mean, when it happens, I definitely, people will write me, and every once in a while I'll get these, like, where are you at? Or, you're so done, you're lucky, blah, blah, blah. You get the haters, the dickheads, but at the same time, like, they're actually hilarious. If you look at their pages, they're just complete trolls. And,
right.
Sometimes it's just funny to ignore them, but I don't know. I mean, I've had a lot of support from people in the sport and outside the sport, so it's pretty good.
At this point, can you put a number on it? Like, there's a 10% chance you'll ever fight again, a 50% chance? Do you have any idea?
No, I mean, it'll just take the right circumstances. I'll just have to be in the right position, with where I'm at family-wise, and I'll have to, it's not something I'm even considering, like, having the discussion with my wife right now about whether or not I'm going to fight. She's never against it. It's just, it's more me. But yeah, like I said, I gotta take care of my family. I grew up poor. I paid my dues. I lived with my mom till I was like 26 or something like that, or 27. And that's the stuff that fighters, they kind of have to do. I remember hearing, like, Kurt Angle, when he went to the Olympics, I think he lived with his mom till he was 28 years old. And, that's kind of, unfortunately, you got to make sacrifices in order to do what you want to do. And I did that. And at this point in my life, I'm not ready to make sacrifices that, just to go fight again. I want to fight again, potentially down the road, but, take care of family.
Final thing. If that is it for you, and it's a tremendous career, you currently have a 21-5 record. Is there a moment that sticks out? Is it the Gray Maynard win, Memorial Day weekend? Is it the Matt Wyman win, your debut in Canada against Rio Chonan, that win? Is there one moment maybe outside of the UFC that you'll be telling your kids about and their kids, etc.?
I probably, there's a lot of good memories of wins. The Matt Wyman one, I had a lot of stress. I was dealing, I wasn't dealing with things properly. I didn't sleep much. I slept like 9 hours in 3 days. Woke up at 4:30 that morning, went out, and I had one of my best performances. But even that, I was so tired when I won that fight. I barely even enjoyed it. But I was more just in shock. I was not in the right state of mind. But the Gray Maynard fight, I felt like everything was clicking in my career. Mentally, I was like, I've never felt that way before a fight, where I was, in my opinion, I wouldn't say supremely confident. I was pretty confident. I'm a humble guy. I give my opponents a lot of respect, and I obviously gave him a lot of respect, but I just knew that I was prepared, and I knew the mind frame I had to be in to beat him, and I brought that to the fight, and I got him out of there pretty quick. But my Kevin Burns win was pretty big too. I was, due to make 5-5. I was flat broke at the time. My dad was there, and he got to come down, and my brother. So that was probably one of my best moments in UFC. I'd say that and Gray Maynard.
That was a great win as well. TKO first round in Memphis, UFC 107. Feels like ages ago. For me, I can't imagine what it feels like for you, but I really appreciate you coming on, especially I know how hectic it can be after coming home with a newborn, so it really means a lot. Hopefully this answers some of the questions out there. Wish you nothing but the best. Congratulations to both you and your family. Enjoy the new one, and of course the older one now. And if you do decide to come back, if you change your mind either way, please do come back on here. It's always great to talk to you. Always appreciate it. So thank you very much again, TJ. Wish you the best, and And if this is it, thank you very much for all the great fights. You were a tremendous fighter to watch, fellow Canadian. Always enjoyed it, and you had an amazing run there at the end, and it was really most enjoyable to watch you evolve into an all-around fighter, because at first, of course, everyone knew you as the ground fighter, but at the end, you were knocking people out in the first round. It was really, really fun to watch. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Errol. I always appreciate it. And, yeah, I'm not going to close the door yet, buddy. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. I look forward to that. Thank you, TJ. All the best.
All right. Take care. Bye.
There he is, TJ Grant, stopping by from Nova Scotia. Great stuff from him. Appreciate his time. It is a very hectic time when you come home with a newborn. So he gave us a lot of time there, and that is really kind of him. So thank you very much to TJ. He doesn't want to close the door officially. It does sound to me, at least, like for now it's not in his plans. And as you get older, it's hard to dust off those gloves, if you know what I'm saying. But he is only 31 years old, and he has 26 fights officially on his pro record. So we'll see what happens. But what a run he was on there at the end, defeating Shane Roller via submission in the third round, defeating Carlo Prater via decision, defeating Evan Dunham via decision, knocking out Matt Wyman, and then knocking out Gray Maynard in a huge fight, May of 2013. What a great moment that was for TJ Grant. He won the knockout of the night. He won the title shot. He was going to fight in August. That got delayed to December, and we have not seen him compete since. But I appreciate him coming on. Thank you very much to TJ. All right, let's take a quick break. Let's go inside the vault here. You know, I was thinking recently about UFC 135 because Rampage Jackson said recently that John Jones injured him and tried to injure him and tries to ruin people's careers. He said this before, and it got me thinking about that fight, Rampage versus John Jones at UFC 135, September 24th, 2011, and in particular, a post-fight interview with the Honorable Sensei Segal as you remember he was trying to infiltrate Team Jones, and he showered him with praise, but then kind of took it back and said he wasn't all that impressed. And I started thinking about the Honorable Sensei Segal when a video popped up of Anderson Silva. I'm not sure if this is an old video, a new video, but it seemed like Anderson was mocking him. And, well, I can't speak for Sensei. I can say I didn't appreciate it. So I wanted to share this interview. This is Inside the Vault. We missed it last week, so good to have one this week. I know some people like it, and it's good to go down memory lane. So here it is, Inside the Vault, September 24th, 2011, post-fight UFC 135. I caught up with the legendary, the Honorable Sensei Steven Segal to get his thoughts on John Jones's big win. Here it is. Ariel Helwani post-fight at UFC 135 where John Jones just submitted Quinton Rampage Jackson, and we've run into Sensei Steven Segal. How are you, sir?
Good, brother. How are you?
So what brings you here? We're usually used to seeing you when one of the Black House guys fight, then there weren't.
You know, these guys are my friends too. I'm just not teaching them, but they're my friends, and you know, this was an important pivotal fight to me because depending upon who won this fight, could change the heavyweight division or the light heavyweight division. So I wanted to pay close attention to this fight.
Was that how you expected the main event to go? John Jones submitting Rampage, really? Why so? A lot of people weren't thinking that he was actually going to submit him.
Pretty good eye.
So what about John Jones impresses you?
He has a lot of weapons, a lot of technique. He's quick. He's very athletic. He has tremendous potential. And, you know, but I'll tell you something, Rampage had the best head movement he's ever had and really impressed me tonight. You know, if he would have let his hands go tonight, it would have been something. For some reason, he didn't.
Now, what about John Jones in terms of his legacy? Do you think that he could actually be one of the best fighters of all time? Because right now, no one has ever even come close to really putting a chink in his eye.
Say that. I'm not going to say that about anybody. I don't know, you know, anybody here that I'm going to say, you know, is going to be one of the best fighters of all time, because of all time is a long time. He's a great young man with tremendous potential. Are there people out there who could beat him? Maybe. You know,
I noticed him actually go for the front kick to the face there. Did you see that as well?
Yeah, him and I did talk about that, but he hasn't, you know, he hasn't learned it yet.
When did you speak to him?
Taught it yesterday, day before yesterday.
Wow. So you actually have a relationship with John Jones?
Well, he's a kind of a friend. Yeah.
How do you think he would match up against Anderson? Because that's a fight that a lot of people have been talking about wanting to see.
I mean, I don't really want to see that fight, because Anderson's a close friend and John's a friend. I'd rather that they don't fight.
We haven't seen you since Anderson's last fight. Were you impressed with his performance in Brazil?
Well, it was exactly as I told him it would be. Exactly.
You're almost like a visionary. You call all the fights.
I haven't been wrong yet.
How do you think John Jones will do against Rashad Evans? Do you think he'll beat him as well?
Yes.
Really? So you're pretty high on John Jones.
I'm high on the truth. I mean, and I shouldn't say that.
Why not?
Because it's, I want to respect everybody, and Rashad's my buddy too, but, that's just my humble opinion.
Anyone else finally who impressed you tonight? Anyone in particular?
On the contrary, thought there was some very poor performances, didn't you?
Did you think maybe the high altitude got some of those big guys?
Man, we can't be saying that. If you come here, get into shape, get out there, and bring it. I mean, come on, that's a bullshit excuse.
So overall, impressed with John Jones, but the rest of the card not all that impressive.
I was impressed with Rampage. I was more impressed with Rampage.
Really?
That's the best head movement I've ever seen him do. If he would have let his hands go, that would have been something. John Jones wasn't himself tonight.
Really? You thought so? Because a lot of people thought that Joe Rogan said it was his best performance.
Oh, well, okay.
Are you not a Joe Rogan fan?
I'm a fighter. I've fought all my life. You can listen to him, and maybe he knows more than me. I don't know.
No, I was just saying, just because that's what he said, so I wanted to get your take on it.
My opinion, John Jones is much, much better than that. And that's just my humble opinion. Maybe Joe Rogan knows more than me. I don't know.
Not what I was implying, obviously. I was just trying to get...
I'm not saying you're maybe... I want to cover myself so that everyone can know that I'm polite and fair, and I don't want to give you guys a chance to cut this in such a way that it would make me look like I'm, being insensitive or rude or, partial. I'm just trying to give my opinion. I think, John Jones has tremendous talent. I didn't see him do anything tonight as well as I've seen him do it. Did you?
I thought it was an interesting performance. He obviously respected Rampage's power, so he wasn't as aggressive.
Yeah, it was a little off.
But then he turned it up at the end, went for the submission, and yes, he wasn't maybe as aggressive as the Shogun fight, but still, I thought he picked his spots well for the most part. But he missed a lot as well. As you mentioned, the head movement was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, man. This is a tough world. You gotta be on. When you get in that ring, you got to be on, and we're all human. We all have off nights and off times. You understand? It's a tough world. It really is.
Well, you're always gracious with your time. I really appreciate your insight. Thank you so much, and we look forward to the next time we can talk to you. There he is. The honorable, the legendary Sensei Steven Seagal. I mean, look at that breakdown. You won't get that from the Rogan part was great. The criticism of John Jones was great. A treasure to the world of martial arts. And I get people texting me about Sensei and the fact that we have yet to recognize his contributions to this sport, to this world is really boggling to me. Mind-numbing, I should say. Am I the only one that gets it? I know there are a few of you out there who get it, but why does it feel like the majority don't? I don't quite understand. But anyhow, that was it. UFC 135, great stuff. He never did team up with John Jones, but he did call the Rashad Evans win, as you saw right then and there. So good stuff. As always, appreciate Mr. Sensei Seagal and all the contributions he has made to my career. Now, a quick update on Miesha Tate. My friends over at UFC Fight Pass are reminding me that she is the cover star of Fight Pass this month. That goes live today. Go to UFC Fight Pass over the next few days and weeks, all month long, to see her face-off breakdowns of Ronda versus Holly, face-off breakdowns of Joanna versus Valerie, her Ultimate 8 females of all time, and a fightography on her winning the Strikeforce title. What do you mean she's not getting the love? Look at all that. That's the love. So check that out on UFCFightPass.com. All right, time for questions, comments, etc. Mr. New York Rick, are you there?
I'm here.
Queens' own New York Rick, are you sad about the demise?
I have to admit, I'm not much of a baseball fan. I got into it though with the Mets this season, and I'm disappointed.
Did you bandwagon?
No, I like if somebody's going to stop me on the street and ask me about the Mets, I'm not going to be able to talk to them too much, so I'd probably just avoid it altogether. But I was watching, and of course, I want the team from New York to win. And
when they lost, did you take a selfie of your sad face? Did you say, like, this is how I'm feeling right now? Selfie?
I thought about it.
You did. By the way, Aaron Hill on Twitter says that I butchered Yogi Berra's quote. I don't think I actually butchered it. I think I tried to apply to the situation, and maybe that was a stretch. But the exact quote, I know it well. It's when you come to the fork in the road, take it. So I was trying to tell her, you're at the fork in the road and take it. Of course, that's a Yogiism, but I don't think it's fair to say I butchered the quote.
You preempted because I selected that for Twitter. Because you completely butchered that quote.
No, I didn't. I don't think that's fair.
You're like, you say when you come to the fork in the road, take it. Choose one of them. Like you're explaining the Yogiism,
yes,
destroying the purpose of the Yogiism. That's from Twitter, but let's go back to the
By the way,
website.
how was your Halloween?
I just visited family, kind of chilled out. We don't get many trick-or-treaters in my hood, so it was pretty relaxed.
When you say visited family, like I think of Thanksgiving, I think of Christmas. Is Halloween really a time to visit family and sit around?
No, I just happened to do that.
Oh,
I went and saw my mom.
Okay.
But
it was just a coincidence.
It's unrelated to, like, I wasn't going over there to celebrate Halloween.
Fair enough.
Okay.
My Halloween was great. Thanks for asking. Anyway, let's move along.
No, come on. Who wants to hear about that? Okay, first question. Ready?
Yes.
Vitor on Inside MMA.
Oh, great.
What do you all think about the interview and his gentle poke at Ariel?
Do I really have to talk about this? Do you want to make me upset? Do you want to piss me off? What am I going to say about this in the most gentle way possible? I will say this is the part that I think some people are missing about the whole thing with Vitor Belfort last week. I couldn't care. Like, do you know how many times? Okay, we have like 6 or 7 guests per week, right? Do you know how many times I get turned down when I reach out to someone? I reach out to multiple people. I probably reach out to like 10 to 11 a week. Some say no, some don't reply, some have something going on, some say yes. I have no problem with anyone. You know how many times TJ Grant has said no to me over the past year? I have no problem with someone saying no, or they don't want to talk.
Sounds like Miesha too, recently.
Miesha, she was just always busy. But yeah, that's another example. So I have no problem with that. I don't expect that I'm going to get every single person. 300th show, another example. I reach out to a lot of people, as I said on the show. Couldn't get all of them. I have no problem with that. What I had a problem with, what bothered me, was booking him on a Wednesday and then 2 hours before the show trying to change the rules, trying to put out these stipulations, these parameters, and saying, if I didn't agree to it, I'm sorry. I thought that I thought that we could trust you and all this stuff. I was like, where is this coming from? If you would have said from the get-go, we don't want to talk about this, that, and the other, then I would have decided, all right, maybe it doesn't make sense. All the best, no hard feelings. Really, no hard feelings. I saw an interview with his wife, Joanna Prado, I should say. And really, I have no hard feelings towards both of them, but I think she told Sherdog that, she invited me to this media day. First of all, I don't live in Florida. And they've done this a couple times before. They're like, come to the media day in Florida. I don't live there. So that doesn't really help me. There wasn't any press conference where I could call in. You can't use that as, he didn't show up to the media day. That wasn't for people. I wasn't even invited to the media day by the UFC. So one really has nothing to do with the other. You changed the rules. Own up to it. You tried to get me not to talk about certain things, and when I didn't feel comfortable doing that, you said thanks, but no thanks. All right. And then, of course, Access TV is going to promote that, don't believe the media who says Vitor doesn't talk to the media. No, there's nothing not to believe. That's a fact. he said that he did not want to do the show. I'm a big believer, for the most part, of media being on the same side as media. Now, I've talked about this before. I remember Pat Miletich coming on my show years ago when New York Rick just started, and he made up this crazy lie about me hanging around at the Access TV studios. For some reason, those guys have never liked me. For some reason, those guys have always tried to discredit me, have tried to put me down. Last week was no different. So I can't say I was disappointed in that. I can't say I was surprised. That's par for the course. I'm proud of this show, whether it's on the internet or on TV. And I think we do things the right way, and we don't try to belittle people and put people down. We don't try to discredit people. We don't try to, make ourselves better than others. I'm just trying to do a show. And if other people need to do that to make themselves feel better or put over their own show, go for it. More power to you. I'm not going to get involved in all of that. But what I told you all last week was 100% the truth. He was booked on Wednesday. I checked in on Sunday. I didn't hear back. I checked in on Monday, 2 hours before the interview, and they tried to change the rules and say you can only talk about the Dan Henderson fight. Oh, by the way, I saw him talking about Ben Carson. Was that the Dan Henderson fight? Or is it okay to talk about other things outside of the Dan Henderson fight if they are positive, glowing things? Is that okay? But if it's kind of stuff that makes you feel a little bit weird inside, then it's not okay. Those guys should be thanking us for making this whole thing into a big deal, because then you got to have the interview on the back end where it's like, oh, nothing happened. Oh, what? Media? I'm right here. What are you talking about? I had a press conference. I don't think I've ever lied to the public. I don't think I've lied to our viewers. And I'm pretty damn proud of the amount of viewers that we have. Thank you very much, whether we're on the internet. If I do my entire career on the internet, it'll be a great career. So whatever. Not surprised. Par for the course. We'll keep doing our thing over here.
Moving on. Khabib's injury. How disappointed were you to hear of Khabib suffering another injury? Seems like the perfect time, if he was able to stay healthy, for him to make a run at the UFC title, considering he has a win over the current champ. Do you think his string of injuries is simply down to bad luck or a result of poor training practices?
Well, I saw a lot of people jumping on the AK bandwagon on this one, and that's definitely not fair, because he was not at AK when he suffered this rib injury. Hey, by the way, speaking of another guy, I reached out to Khabib to be on this week's show. Couldn't get that one done. So it happens. Do I hate the guy? No. Utmost respect for him, and I do hope that he fights again, by the way, because, he was so damn close. His last fight was in April of 2014, that Orlando show that I've been talking about a couple times on this week's show. He beat the man who later on and is still the champion, Rafael dos Anjos. So the story of Khabib Nurmagomedov is nothing short of heartbreaking, because he is so damn good. He's undefeated. He is dominant. He's just a great fighter, and we've seen this before, and not just MMA, but other sports as well. Sometimes fighters get hit with injuries, and it's hard to come back. Just look at Dominic Cruz. It was 3 years before he got back, and then he returned, and then he was out again. So hopefully that doesn't happen to Khabib, and I know he put on Instagram, who knows if I'll ever come back, something to that effect. I hope that he rethinks that. Rib injuries happen. Thankfully, it wasn't the knee. That's the good thing. So one has nothing to do with the other. You can't say he was overcompensating or came back too soon like the other injury a couple months ago. These are freak things that happen. So hopefully he can get back in there, take some time off, get 100%, the rib heals, and we can finally see him in there in 2016. To the people who celebrate, even fighters, I know he has said a lot of things about a lot of people. I know he's talked trash. I know it. But it doesn't mean you have to go that route. And to celebrate a man's demise, or at least his tough times, is just the lowest that you can go. It's disgusting. And again, just part of the game that we now play with social media and all that, but just amazing to see so many people just celebrate his demise.
Now, to play devil's advocate, there were times where he was calling out Pettis for injuries, and he was making fun of him.
I just said that. I know he's done it, but it doesn't mean we have to do it to him. It doesn't mean it's right to do it to him. It's not. It's not.
I think in those specific cases,
2 wrongs, they don't make a right.
I'm okay with 2 wrongs in my
really?
book. Really?
You feel okay with people celebrating his demise, his
those
injuries?
Those specific people? Yeah.
Well, I didn't see Pettis do it. Did you?
Pettis, I think, sent a very nice message, like wishing you the best.
Well, that says a lot about Anthony Pettis. It doesn't say a whole lot about you.
Yeah. No, I'm not as forgiving as Anthony Pettis.
Damn. Did Pettis say something?
He said he wished him a speedy recovery.
Really?
He's a class act.
Well done, Anthony Pettis. I like him even more now.
Okay, so let's look at that situation now that he's out. Who will be next in line after Dos Anjos and Cerrone happens? Khabib versus Ferguson was the obvious title contender match. Now that he's injured, it's a bit unclear. What about any of these? Would any of these be now a new number one contender fight? Diaz Johnson, Ferguson Barboza, Pettis Alvarez.
Well, such a bummer, eh? Ferguson Khabib was just such a great fight.
You win that, you get the title shot. It's so clean.
I guess it depends. I don't know if I put Diaz Johnson there in that discussion. I think it comes down to those two other fights. I think if Ferguson wins, he has a strong case. But I think if Pettis wins, he has probably the strongest case. Wouldn't you say?
I think Alvarez has a pretty good case too.
Yeah, I would kind of put it as Pettis, Alvarez, Ferguson if all three of those guys win.
Yeah. I think that's accurate, and I think for Ferguson it would have to be a really impressive victory for him to leapfrog over Pettis or Alvarez, just because if he had beaten Khabib that would have been enough. I don't think beating Barboza is quite enough just yet. He might need one more. So I agree with you. I think Pettis Alvarez, the winner of that, is likely the next contender.
Slowly but surely, though, that amazing week in Vegas lost Joanne Calderwood, lost Khabib Nurmagomedov. Can we just stop it there? No more. That's it. All done.
What are your thoughts on the new fight announced for Paige Van Zandt, and how do you see it going? Do you think it's too soon for her to be fighting the number 3 ranked fighter in the division? Although I think it would be a bit too soon for Paige. Could this potentially be considered a number 1 contender fight?
I don't think it's too soon. Was I surprised initially? Yeah, I was kind of surprised when she got Joanne, but I like the fight. I mean, as I've said before, I don't think losses mean as much in MMA as they do in boxing. And what I mean by that is, a loss isn't going to completely derail your career. Paige Van Zandt loses to Rose Namajunas. I mean, look at Rose, lost to Carla a year ago, and look where she is right now. This is a very big fight. It's an important fight. After Claudia Gadelha, I can see the winner of this being, maybe 1 win away from fighting for the belt. That's just the state of the strawweight division. That's the state of MMA in most divisions these days. People are going to get pushed quicker because the sport is young, it's new, and some of the divisions like the strawweights, while very interesting and one of the more fascinating divisions in the UFC, it's all up in the air, and it's you don't really know. You can't bring people along as slowly as boxing, so you have to move people along quickly. She's had 3 fights in the UFC against tough competition, and all the fights made sense. And she is taking a jump. There is a gap between Alex Chambers and Rose Namajunas, in my opinion. So hey, this is the opportunity. It's a big week. I think Calderwood is probably in that gap. Closer she's probably in that gap. So she fell off. I heard they reached out to some other people. It didn't work out, and here we are. Great. If she wins, she's for real. I mean, you could say nothing about her. If she loses, she'll get back on the horse, and now here you have Rose right back in that title chase. So I find it to be a win-win for the UFC.
Right after she beat Chambers, we had a similar question to this. Should she be brought along slowly, or should she be thrown into the fire? And I essentially said that there's not enough leeway in that division that she will likely be fighting for a title sooner rather than later. And that's just the scenario that's going to play out. People are going to get hurt. Opportunities are going to arise, and now we're going to see if she's ready. I agree with you, though, that Calderwood was that step in between.
Yeah.
So if she wins this, she skipped the step.
Can you imagine? I mean, if you beat Rose at this point,
you're next in line or 1 away.
I'd say she's right below Claudia. I'd like to see Claudia get the fight.
I'd like to see it, but I think that this win would mean a lot.
Huge, massive.
You could reasonably get the next title fight without fighting again. There'd be no argument.
And how about the story? A year, 2 days to the year of her fight against Carla for Rose, Paige kind of took over Rose's spot as, the next Ronda, the it girl, all that stuff. And now here they are fighting. Pretty amazing.
Speaking of Ronda, does Ronda take up boxing or pro wrestling once her MMA career is is complete, or simply rely on movies? They're asking you to play Ari Gold or Ariel Gold and plan Rousey's most lucrative post-MMA career path.
What is the Ari Gold, like the Entourage guy?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I saw the cover of Ring Magazine. Ronda was on the cover. That came out last week, and I thought 2 interesting things. A, I saw all these boxing purists getting all upset, and MMA purists like, oh, her boxing sucks. Why is she on the cover of Ring Magazine? And then the boxing fans were saying, oh, who's this MMA fighter on the cover of Ring Magazine? I don't know if I think maybe once before an MMA fighter has been on there. If that's accurate, I'm not 100% sure. But the fact that people were all worked up about Ring Magazine, I mean, how many people subscribe to Ring Magazine these days? Not to belittle it, but like all of a sudden, this is something that really offends you. I thought it was a great cover. It was a timely cover. It got people talking about Ring Magazine. I mean, it was a brilliant move by Ring, and it was good for the UFC as well. Get people talking about Ronda before her fight. I think the great Thomas Gervasi was the one who wrote the article. And you know that it's a great article even before reading a word, just the fact that his name is on it. So that whole uproar was silly to me. It did exactly what they set out for it to do. I don't think that she's going to box. You think the UFC is going to let her box? Honestly,
no. This is post MMA.
But what is? They're never going to let her go. If she's done with MMA, she's done fighting, in my opinion.
What about wrestling?
First of all, who's there for her to fight in the boxing world? That makes sense.
Does that really? No, come on. Does that really matter? If after MMA she says I want to take up boxing, they could throw any tomato can opponent and it would do numbers.
Yeah, I don't really see it. I don't see it. Plus, it takes away a big part of her game. Takedown, submissions.
Absolutely, the biggest and best part of her game.
Yeah, but she was, by the way. Thank you to my good friend Ant Evans for correcting me. She was the first MMA person on Ring Magazine. Oscar De La Hoya owns it, so maybe this is his way of making nice with the UFC. Who the hell knows? I thought it was a nice cover. It was a beautiful cover, and I didn't read the article. Did you read the article?
I haven't yet. No,
I haven't. Wrestling, I could see. It's clear when you talk to her, when you hear her speak, it's very clear that she has a passion for WWE and pro wrestling. And I hear her more. I don't really hear her talk about boxing all that much in the sense that like, ooh, this is a dream, this is a bucket list. You definitely hear her talking about WrestleMania and wanting to do it again and all that stuff. So I think there's a much better chance of her doing that than boxing. And I can also see the UFC being okay with that while she's under contract, as opposed to doing the boxing stuff. I wouldn't be counting on the boxing fight coming anytime soon.
Time for our weekly check-in.
Yes.
Any update on Nick Diaz?
Oh, my good friend Nick. Well, Nick Diaz tweeted, when was it? Tuesday of last week, that his legal team based in Las Vegas, and by the way, he has the same lawyers as the UFC in Las Vegas. So if you don't think at this point that the UFC is supporting Nick Diaz, they may not be doing it publicly, but I'd much prefer them do this than put out some sort of statement. So I think things are moving in the right direction. That he put out that they're talking to Nevada, and Nevada confirmed that talks were going on. I don't know if I can come out. This whole thing is very unpredictable, but it sounds like things are moving in the right direction. Will he fight in 2016? Who knows? Should he fight in 2016? Absolutely, 100%. Will they give him a year? They give him 2 years because it was his third. Who knows? I don't even consider it an offense. But it sounds like the 5-year thing, if all goes well or continues to go well, will be just a footnote in his career, which is great. It's great that they're open to talking. It's great that they're rectifying. I mean, look, it's not getting as much play, but the Vanderlei Silva thing, while it was delayed again last week, is a very important step. Nevada, while they may go off script a few times, the fact that they have to have these rehearings and that they're open to talking to Nick, this is a sign that things can change, things can evolve, that you can cooler heads can prevail. So the courts forced them to have this rehearing for Vanderlei, and I have a feeling that might go in his direction as well. At least he won't get the lifetime ban, because I don't think that's fair at all. I'd really like to see what I talked about on the MMA beat happen. And I don't know if it's too idealistic or I'm just being too naive, but why can't Nevada say, look, Vanderlei Silva, Nick Diaz, Husimar Palhares, we don't want you fighting in our state anymore. We are not going to license you. You can go out there and fight in New Jersey. You can fight in Florida, California. You can fight wherever you want. And we'll monitor it. We'll watch your fights. We'll see how you behave. And in 2, 3, 4 fights, you want to come back here and revisit this, then we'll look at the data. We'll look at the facts. But right now, we, as a state, are not going to license you. But we're not going to stop you from making a living elsewhere. We're not going to hold that over you. We're just not going to do it here. Why can't it be like that? Why can't Nevada say, Nick Diaz, 5 years, you can't fight here? Why does everyone have to abide by their punishment and enforce the same rules? That's the part I don't get. I am 100% for uniformity. I've talked about having a national commission on this show. But given the structure of it right now, why should someone's career be left up to 4 people sitting at a desk? Why should that have any effect on what goes on in Florida or Texas or Tennessee? Doesn't make any sense.
Again, to play devil's advocate like earlier, that same committee could end up being the national body or the international body, and they would, there's no guarantee that ultimately they wouldn't make bad decisions there either. So I think, respecting Nevada as that larger body.
Why do they have to get that respect?
I'm not saying that they are the right people for it, but what I'm saying is, as it currently stands, they appear to be the de facto people for that.
No,
and people respect their jurisdiction.
But why give them that power? If there is going to be a national commission, then let's make one. If there is one commission that's going to, rule the world, let's do that. But
if they make similarly terrible decisions,
yeah, but that's okay. We have agreed as an entity that this group is going to, and by the way, there should always be an appeals process, right? So this group is going to govern the entire sport. But then there is this process, and it's all laid out, and there's actual punish. When you have a third offense, it's X amount of years or X amount of dollars. It's not just this crazy, oh, we didn't like your answers or you didn't kiss our ass. That behavior alone, what we saw on September 15, 2015, in that Las Vegas courtroom, that alone should take away all that power.
I guess my thought is that it's a bit of passing the buck, and also, I think that.
Passing the buck on whose part?
Well, saying, okay, you can't fight here, but you're somebody else's problem if you're trying to get licensed. And I also think that these other commissions should, be aware of the decisions and pay attention to it. And, for example, like a guy like Husamar Palhares, he did something much more, I guess, shameful in a sense than Nick Diaz. I wouldn't want him fighting in my state regardless.
That's up to you.
But
what if you're, and look, you can't have states that are going to just take all the bad guys. I get that.
Yeah, that will happen, likely.
But you could say, okay, if Nevada gave him 2 years and I agree with that, then I'm gonna follow that as well. But if you're a commission, let's say like this Massachusetts commissioner that tweeted me after this whole Nick Diaz thing happened, if you're Massachusetts and you believe from your research and your findings and what you witnessed that, hey, this guy doesn't deserve to be banned for 5 years, then I see no problem with that. And if Nevada wants to fight that, then let them fight that. But I feel uncomfortable these commissioners who have been appointed by a governor of Nevada hold all this power and abuse it over these people who are just trying to make a living. Now, if you deserve it, you deserve it. But we're seeing, like with Wanderlei Silva, like with Nick Diaz, some of these guys don't deserve it. There's got to be a way. So I don't know. None of this is going to change. It's going to be this way. It's not going to change anytime soon. But end of story. I'm happy to see that these things are still ongoing. It's being revisited. It's being talked about, and hopefully there's a resolution that's fair and that's deserved.
Speaking of fair,
yes,
you hinted at Ben Rothwell getting a big fight on Fighter versus Writer versus Fighter.
Yes.
Do you know something that we don't?
Of course I know something that you don't. Are you kidding? Haven't you learned anything by now? Now, it's nothing I could talk about because it's all very fluid. But look, I don't know if it's as big as Andre.
Was that a fair scenario? Let's rewind.
Well, I talked about it on this show and that show. It wasn't fair. The worst part about the whole scenario was the timing. Was announcing that while he's in Dublin, he makes the trip. He's there, he's hanging out with the people, he's being a good soldier, and then they announce his opponent, who didn't make the trip, gets this big co-main event fight on a huge New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, whatever you want to call it, show. And that's the part that probably hurt him the most.
And then Duffy and Poirier gets rebooked. So a fight that dropped off that card also gets rebooked rather than them getting different opponents. So it was a bad timing thing.
That's a good point as well. And that was the same. That was a week later. They announced Duffy Poirier last Wednesday, and the Miocic fight was the previous week. But yeah, why couldn't he get it rebooked? The whole thing was a little strange.
But you're saying it will work out for him.
Well, I mean, I said I would like to reserve judgment. I mean, look at the rankings. There aren't that many options, right now for Ben Rothwell. There aren't that many options. So I don't know if it's going to be as big as a co-main event fight on a big show like that, but I said hopefully, they make it right. He deserves it.
Okay, let's talk quickly about USADA.
Yes.
3 months of the testing policy has gone by. This says a total of 50 fighters. I think the number is significantly higher. I think that was at the beginning of October, that it was 50 fighters and 81 total tests. I think they've done a lot in the last month. That's higher than that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if you know offhand that's accurate. But I believe that they've significantly passed the 81 tests and the 50 fighters as it stands right now. Isn't that number low? There should be. This person is positing that there should be close to 3,000 tests done in a year across all the fighters. At this rate, they'll complete a total of 324 tests. Do you think?
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head that these numbers are correct. And also, Josh Samman said that and we've talked about this on the show. It really went into effect in October, so I don't think it's fair to say 3. I mean, it went into effect where they were starting to talk to people and educate July, but I think it truly went into effect, if you know what I'm saying, in October.
I'm relatively confident that this was 1st of October numbers.
Really?
That it was 50 fighters and 81 tests, and then since then they've done a lot. Since then they've tested maybe the same amount or double or whatever the case may be. Is there a way we can judge this at this point? Do you have any?
I don't think so. Like I said about the Reebok deal, I think you need to wait a year or so to really find out how these things work and if they're working correctly. If they're doing it the right way, if it's a positive, if it's a negative, if they're dropping the ball.
I believe we're going to start seeing results soon.
Josh said that as well, yeah. Did you not listen to the interview, for God's sakes? Jesus.
Interview?
Yes.
There was an interview?
I think it's too soon. So, look, here's the thing. Those numbers may be low, but guess what? They're way better than they were last year, right? So let's see how it all shakes out. I feel like we're moving in the right direction. It's all positive. Is it happening as quickly as we would like? These things take time. The website, it all takes time. But we're in a much better place today than we were November 2nd, 2014. 100%. No denying.
Got a lot of big, close fights coming up.
Yes.
Let's go down this list real quick. See if there's any underdogs that you like here.
By the way, this is for you only. It says question for New York Rick only. I'm reading the website.
You're backing out a little bit?
Well, no. The man said question for New York Rick only in bold.
Okay.
So let me read them. Okay?
Go ahead.
All the fighters on the right side are underdogs.
Yep.
How many and which one would you pick if you could play $100 for free?
Sure.
Now, what does $100 for free mean? Isn't it $100?
They're just giving me $100, I guess.
Oh, okay. Gastelum Brown.
I don't like Matt Brown there.
By the way, Matt Brown is the underdog?
Yes.
Whoa. Okay.
Kelvin Style is pretty crushing, and he's going to be big.
Edgar Mendez.
I kind of like Chad a little bit there. I think Frankie's going to edge it out. And I looked up. All of these are under 2-1, so they are close fights.
Oh, wow.
I think Chad is live here.
Okay. Maya Nelson.
That's going to be tough. I think Maya is going to be able to get it to the ground, and I think he's better on the ground there. As good as Gunnar is, there's no doubt about it. Once Maya gets you to the ground, he's pretty suffocating.
So no love for Nelson.
I don't think so.
Souza Romero.
I think Romero's live because he's got that ridiculous power.
You're going against your guy?
Listen, I'm not picking him.
You said he's live.
But he's a live dog for sure. Just because he's got that ridiculous strength. He's a freak athlete. But I think Jacare is better on the feet and likely going to be able to, if he gets it to the ground, sub him pretty quickly.
Weidman Rockhold.
Man, I think you got to say Luke's live here just because he's so good. It's hard to say where Chris Weidman has any flaws or deficiencies because he's so well-rounded, and we've seen him excel in all kinds of fights. He's knocked out Anderson Silva early. He's gone through wars with Machida and looked good. Luke, I think, is a live dog, but it's tough to say where either of these guys has flaws. I think they're both so well-rounded. It's a tough fight to call.
Sounds like
I probably wouldn't even touch this one.
McGregor Aldo?
I like Jose Aldo here.
And Aldo is the underdog.
Aldo is the underdog. Slight.
Lawler Condit.
Don't like Carlos's chances here. I think Robbie's too good right now, and his style plays into where Carlos is strong and vice versa. So I think Robbie's going to retain there. Don't really like Carlos's odds there.
Dillashaw Cruz.
I would love to pick Dominic Cruz, but I just can't because of the health concerns. It's a really tough spot to be in. You don't really want to pick a guy coming back from injury, but I think, if it was at their absolute best, I think Dominic Cruz is for sure a live dog. If not, should be the outright favorite. But the injury really hampers that. So I like Aldo straight up.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mendez is live. I think Romero's live. Rockhold's live. And Cruz is live. So and rightfully so, these are really close fights that are coming up. There's a lot of good, really, really high profile fights coming up that underdogs could come away with the win here.
Can I just say that Sage Northcutt on Twitter is just unbelievable? I mean, the smiles.
Is this what you're doing while I'm talking? You're just going on Sage Northcutt's Twitter? You falling into this?
The smiles, the poses. I mean, he is just something else, this guy. Do you follow him on Twitter?
I don't follow many fighters on Twitter.
Well, you're missing out.
I do not.
You are missing out. All right, what else we got?
NBA season.
Oh, yes.
It's the new NBA season.
Correct.
This person wants to know who's going to win the West and the East, who will win MVP and Rookie of the Year, and the Knicks are looking decent for the first time in a long time.
Oh my! Well, first of all, the Knicks are. I'm trying to curb my enthusiasm here. I'm trying not to get too crazy, but 2-1, huge win against the Wizards. The Wizards at Washington, their home opener. Now we did beat the Bucks opening night, but they were without Greek Freak. They were without Jabari Parker, so I don't want to put too much stock to that. And then they laid a big fat egg against Atlanta in the Knicks home opener. Tonight we're playing the Spurs. Will the Spurs dress all their guys?
Down City.
Will they dress all their guys? I don't know.
Do they even need to?
That is a good question. But Langston Galloway, Kylo Quinn, Sasha Vujicic, Jerian Grant.
So you're saying they're going to win the East?
Yes. Okay, so the East is going to the Knicks. That's an easy one. The West, I see a lot of OKC picks, but I'm not feeling that. Look at Stephen Curry and those guys. Look what they're doing. Have you seen? I'm not going to jump off that bandwagon yet, so I'm sticking with the Warriors there. Rookie of the Year, obviously Kristaps Porzingis. That's an easy one. And MVP goes to Melo. Perfect.
Wow.
Yes, you heard it here first.
Those were some picks right there.
Yes.
No love for Karl Anthony Towns, huh?
Well, I have been looking at his, I don't know, I kind of look at his stat sheets with one eye closed because I just can't, I think about it. I dream about him in that jersey. I'm like, so damn close. He is good, but my man KP6, he's going to.
Remember when we met him?
Oh, that was amazing. Did you actually meet him, though? You took the picture, but did you say hi to him?
Well, look, I'm not a fanboy. I'm not gonna.
I fanboyed it
Mr.
up.
Mr. Porzingis, can I?
I said, shove it up Stephen A's ass. I said, prove the people wrong. People like to bring up this supposed Twitter rant I went on when he was drafted. 100% I was hacked that night. That had nothing to do with me. I have been on that bandwagon since he was rocking the cornrows back in the day. Have you seen him with the cornrows?
I have seen him, and I've seen him doing lip syncing to rap songs.
He's the man.
He's great. Now, that is the perfect segue.
Yes.
Speaking of social media and deleted tweets and all that stuff, from our friend Andrew Mayer, with John Jones's recent comments on social media, do you think he has become comfortable enough to return to his heel persona? What do you think of his social media personality right now?
You know what I think it is? I think it's actually pretty damn real. So I want to stop the talk about heel and face and fake and not fake. This feels like it's John Jones. Remember, this is how I realized that it was real and that he's just trying to be himself. And good or bad, that's up to you to decide whether or not you like it. He used the P word, right? You know the P word that I'm talking about.
I do.
The P star Y word, right? And he used that word multiple times in the back and forth with Daniel Cormier that was caught on ESPN or whatever, the leaked footage, right?
Sure.
So that's a word that he uses. We've never seen him tweet that word out. That feels like, all right, he's just being himself. He's putting it out there.
That's what hinted you off.
That was it. See, this is how smart people think. I look for key phrases. I went back to look at that interaction. I was like, okay, we're starting to see the real John Jones. And it's clear he's taking this all very seriously. He's training. He's getting into it. The gloves are off. And that's all we wanted. I saw him. he gave a smiley face to someone who was like, oh, the media first says that they want you to, be a heel. And then when you act too heelish, they want you to be a good guy. What do they want? He's like, yeah, like, SMH. No. We just want you to be yourself. Just be yourself. If that's you being a dick, be a dick. If that's you being a choir boy, then make it real. Just be yourself. Why? You don't believe me?
I don't believe that I do believe that there are people out there who, no matter what he does, will be critical. And
of course.
And for him being real is not a reality.
Why?
Where people will accept him, I don't think.
But like, no one ever says Nick Diaz is fake, right?
Yes, because Nick Diaz started authentic, remained authentic, and now he continues to be authentic. John Jones put on this persona initially.
But you can change. We can all change.
You can absolutely change, but he would have benefit. See, a guy, if John Jones had come out and had this attitude from the start, I don't think he would have been nearly as popular as he is now and as high profile.
I don't know if that's true.
Or B, I don't think he would have been as interesting. And I think he needed to go through this, and he needed to, at first, it seemed like he was conflicted and trying to be something he wasn't, and now he's trying to be himself. I think there's people who are still going to judge him pretty harshly for that.
Sure. Well, I mean, he's a controversial character. I mean, look what he's coming off of. He deserves to be judged, with all due respect. But I want to get rid of this whole persona. I mean, let's just let him be who he is, and I hope that he feels comfortable enough to a degree being who he is. So if that means messing with people, if you get a kick out of deleting stuff and putting out videos, then just be yourself. But the talk of personas and heel, it's very tiresome, and I just want to see the real John Jones. And if that's who he has been like the last couple of days, awesome, go for it.
Okay, let's blast through this real quick.
Yes.
Conor versus the Mountain. Did you see it, and what did you think of it?
I thought he nailed him with some very impressive shots to the body, and it was his head movement.
Is Conor going to appear on Game of Thrones? Do you know?
Is that a real guy from Game of Thrones?
He is, right? I'm not as well versed as I probably.
I mean,
should
I think that he was putting him over, the Game of Thrones guy. That is a mountain of a man. That is a gigantic human being.
They don't call him the Mountain for nothing.
I think Kevin Iole said it best. He wrote a blog post about this. Conor has an amazing ability of keeping himself relevant, keeping himself in the news, and this is just another example of that.
Fedor.
Yes.
This person, Bartek, he writes in a lot. He's been saying Pudzianowski was a realistic opponent for him. Even though he lost to Graham, is he still a realistic opponent for Fedor?
Wait. Oh, okay. He's not claiming that this was someone discussed, because I haven't heard Pudzianowski's name.
No, he's been saying that name.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name. I actually think that is probably an opponent that would go over well over there. But I reported this, I think, last Tuesday. In short, I reported the Jaideep Singh thing. Jaideep Singh is the correct way to pronounce his name. They put him in this fight for the vacant deep megaton title. He wins, but Sakakibara and the rest of the Ryzen staff are not impressed with his performance and his physique. So he's now been downgraded, from what I've told from very good sources, to like a 10% chance. And yeah, he has a contract, but that's kind of those are very loose, to put it mildly, over there in Japan. So they're actively searching. They're talking about a lot of different people. And don't be surprised if it shifts. But again, I could say that was the plan. They put him in that fight to try to raise his profile. This is the guy who was 1-0, all of a sudden gets a title fight on 3 days' notice. He wins the fight, but they just weren't blown away, and they don't think that the Japanese. This is a show for the Japanese public. It's on Spike, but it's not for the Americans. It's just gravy. They need an opponent that's going to get Japanese people excited. So they're looking at their options. And look, you remember back in the day in Pride, fights would be announced 6 days before, so don't be surprised if this takes a while.
Bisping versus Silva.
Yes.
Pay-per-view headliner or no? Is it worthy?
I mean, I think it's worthy. I think the UFC is trying these days to make pay-per-view headliners title fights. There have been some exceptions, Anderson versus Nick, but I think that was a super-duper exception. Maybe one other one in very recent memory.
So what does this say about Anderson Silva then? Is he still box office?
I put him. I would make this a co-main event. Like if Werdum fights Kane in Brazil, as we talked about, this is a very worthy co-main event.
Wow.
You don't agree?
I think it's a headliner.
Really?
Yeah.
On pay-per-view?
For sure.
I don't know.
And Your Majesty has checked in with us.
Oh, my old friend.
She created the poll. Should the UFC open up a women's 125-pound division or a men's 115-pound division?
And she says they have spoken. The fans have spoken.
Let's see what the results were.
Where are we going to see? Oh.
A lot of votes for the women's division.
I agree. 87% for the 125-pound women's division. Only 13% for the 115-pound men's division. And that's what I was going to say. No real huge interest right now in seeing the 115-pound men's division. I would be much more inclined to start up the 125-pound women's division. I don't see either of those happening anytime soon. But I think there are a lot better fighters at 125. I also do think that it would hurt Invicta if they did open up the 125, because then they'd have 115, 125, 135. I think they have enough at this point. Don't you agree?
I don't know.
How many polls is she putting out there?
Well, she's blessed.
Amanda Nunes.
I went one step too far. She's blessed. Your Majesty has blessed us with another poll.
Yes.
Do you want to see a 5-round main event between Miesha Tate and Amanda Nunes on a Fox or Fox Sports 1 card? And the overwhelming results are yes.
73% yes. Yes, I would like to see that. Although I do see where Miesha is coming from. If the UFC tells her number 1 contender fight against Amanda Nunes and you get a title shot, 100%, no questions asked, I can see her being content, I think, with that. Certainly a fight that I'd love to see. I'd love to see Amanda Nunes back in there sooner rather than later after that win over Sarah McMahon.
Last question, then we're out of here, excuse me. This person has always wondered, what exactly is the mysterious neon liquid that you're drinking during the show?
You'll have to keep...
You're not going to give
No.
MJ's secret stuff away.
Hell no. What's MJ's secret stuff?
Oh, my God, Ariel. Space Jam?
Ah, yes.
He gives them the water bottle?
Yes. Are they coming out with a new one? Kristaps.
One can only hope that.
Kristaps is going to be the MJ.
I don't know about that one.
No.
He might be the Sean Bradley.
I will not tell you. It's sort of like that. Was Sean Bradley in Space Jam?
Oh, yes. They took his powers. The great Sean Bradley.
That's right. I will not tell you. And it's kind of like the Dana White. Remember he always used to walk around with that like purple bottle?
Yeah.
It is is it neon? Does it come across as neon?
Oh, it's quite yellow, yeah.
Yeah. You'll have to keep wondering.
That's it, folks.
Okay, that is it. We never really talked about Husimar Palhares. Did we talk about him? I don't know.
Nobody asked about him.
Wow. Here today, gone tomorrow.
He's gone.
Well, we talked about him on the MMA Beat. He got 2 years from Nevada. Very inconsistent. But they said, it's first time happening here. So we'll give you 2 years. What he did and what he has done, to me, if you're going to go in line with what they were giving out to other people like Vanderlei, like Chael, like Nick Diaz, I was expecting worse, especially considering how that hearing went. But I guess he should be very happy that there was this big uproar, because now all of a sudden they kind of feel like it feels like they're gun shy all of a sudden. So all those people that signed that petition in favor of Nick Diaz, he probably should hook them up with a present. Because I have a feeling if this would have happened 2 months ago, before the Diaz hearing, he probably would have gone worse. Maybe they don't like the backlash. Francisco Aguilar, no longer the chairman over there. It's now Anthony Marnell. As I mentioned on Twitter also, I want to see that position and all of those positions be paid positions, because they have so much power, so much authority, yet how can you truly be invested if you're doing it pro bono? So the whole system is very fixable and somewhat out of whack. Hopefully they fix it sooner rather than later. All right, you can hit my music. We are done. As I mentioned, UFC is back. Dan Henderson, Vitor Belfort, Glover Teixeira, Patrick Cummins, Anthony Burchak against Thomas Almeida. Piotr Holman versus Alex Oliveira. Solid card in Brazil. Clay Guida going up against Thiago Tavares. Gleison Tibau going up against Abel Trujillo. Also, Bellator back on Friday on Spike TV. As I mentioned at the top, a big one for Will Brooks. Bellator 145 Vengeance in St. Louis. It's Patricio Pitbull versus Daniel Strauss for the featherweight title, and Will Brooks versus Marcin Hell. Justin Lawrence also fighting. Michael Chandler fighting. And the Kimbo Sweepstakes. Bobby Lashley versus James Thompson also going down. Hopefully, finally, this Friday. All right. Thank you very much to everyone who checked out the show, and most importantly, thank you very much to everyone who joined us today on the program. Thank you very much to Josh Samman. Great stuff from him. Check out his work if you haven't. He is a great writer and provides great insight into the world of MMA from the fighter's perspective. Thank you very much to Vai Cavallo, Fabricio Werdum. Thank you very much to Rose Namajunas. Good luck to her on December 10th against Paige Van Zandt. Thank you very much to Joseph Duffy. So very happy to hear that he is healthy and feeling better. Thank you very much to Tim Kennedy. Looking forward to that show next week. Miesha Tate, thank you very much. And all the best to TJ Grant with his new baby boy and, of course, life potentially after fighting. Back next week, same time and place. Until then, I say peace. Somebody.